Hello and welcome to the fourth and final episode of our Imperial Diplomacy series on my game as Spain. I am here once again with Ezio. Hi Ezio.
Hello, hello.
And we are back after what was a pretty crushing last round. You will see that I am above the supply center count required to take victory, but unfortunately, in order to get a victory in Imperial Diplomacy, you also need to be 25% ahead of the next player, and I'm one supply center short of managing to do that. It's a pretty horrendous result, even though it looks like a fantastic position, and the fact that I have 65 supply centers obviously is fantastic, because I burnt every bridge in order to get there. I've declared war on the entire world, and pretty much everyone, except my greatest ally up here, Russia, insults, is now working together to try and kneecap me. So really I had to get the win on that turn, or else bad things were gonna happen. Yeah, and I failed to do so. So now if we look at these areas, for example, this area, it's gonna be gone. I don't have enough units there to contest against the Japanese, the Italians, the Portuguese, the Netherlands, all around here, just encircling my two supply centers. If we look in Europe, my entire French front is pretty much open. Poland has a full front against mine here. So if the Netherlands comes in behind me, there's not a huge amount I can do about that, right? Here we've got potentially a lot of enemy units coming up against me in Africa. Obviously, my line has eternally been pinned down on the North American front against Athapasca. Nothing has really changed there, except for Tokugawa coming in and assisting them now. My one ally left in the game is England, who has been on my side through this entire thing, mainly because I let him live in the first place and let him keep the Caribbean. He let me snipe one supply center from him in my run at a solo, just to see if it would get me over the line, and of course it didn't quite get there. South America, looking a little better for me just because I'm a little bit stronger here than any of the opposition powers who are present. Ezio, I assume you'd agree with that?
I think I'd go one step further. I'd say you're stronger than all of the opposition powers here. So I think even if they all coordinate, you're still going to eventually win in South America. But it's not going to... It's not enough to make up for all of the losses you're going to incur primarily in Europe.
Yeah, Europe is the big problem. Obviously, this is just gone, right?
Yeah, but that's only two centers. So, yes, it's gone. It's going to go immediately, but it's not that big of a deal. Whereas Europe, there's 10 centers on the line between you and Poland right now. And if Ottomans work together with Poland and Netherlands, which, based on global coalition to stop you from winning the game, makes sense, then, Sarajevo, Trieste, Innsbruck, Freiburg, Strasbourg, Luxembourg, Dijon, probably Venice, just this entire thing is going to go, and it's not going to go slowly. It's going to take 2 years at most for you to lose most of this stuff, probably.
Yeah.
If you get really good guesses, you can hold on a little bit longer. But, if they just take guaranteed moves constantly and, get into Orleans and convoy an army into Nantes, and it's
Yeah, you'll note, actually, they can just convoy an army straight into Bordeaux on this turn if they want to, which...
Portugal helps out, yeah.
Yeah, if Portugal is working with them, and of course, it's a global coalition at the moment, so they are quite heavily inclined to. Really not looking great. The one upside, of course, to going for a solo run like that is you do get quite a lot of builds out of it. I do go +9. I'm only able to build 8 of those units because that's the number of open dots, open cores that I have. But that is a big boost, at least for now. It may be a temporary boost, but it's something I can at least use to push an advantage. One of the things I've used those builds for, obviously I've used them to back up my line in South America. I think this is hugely important, being able to push in on this front, given that this is a region that I can win. But I've also built Fleet St. Augustine and Fleet Panama on the basis that I'm probably going to need to take these English dots at this point to try and stabilize, right? If I'm going to lose that much in Europe, then I need the dots to replace them.
And here's where we really, really hope that England is okay with you doing this.
Yes.
Because now that you're just going to take dots from England every turn, 2 per phase forever, maybe 3 with Barbuda. I know a lot of England's in this position who would say, you know what, actually, I don't want you to take everything of mine for free, guaranteed, and would, pull Sargasso Sea back. I don't think they can hold Jamaica, but they can mess with you in Bahamas and such.
Yep.
So...
And this unit here is a real pain if that happens, because Caribbean Sea, pretty important province to South America and to the Caribbean in general. I cannot block them out of that. Yeah. So if England comes back, that's a problem. But thankfully, England had earlier told me that if I needed to take their supply centers to win, they would be okay with me doing it, right? So... that was kind of what I was counting on with these fleet builds, with the Fleet St. Augustine, Fleet Panama going in to take Jamaica, Bahamas, and I'm hoping to grab another one with Barbuda, just to get +3 so that I can stop myself from dying, right?
Yeah, offset some losses.
Yep. I'm curious what negotiation approach you think you would take in this situation.
I would... Oh, God. I'm trying really hard to solo, but I ended just a little bit short. I've
really dropped you into it there, right?
Yeah, this is always that's a tough one to be in, just in general. If you made a solo push on the standard map and you're at 17 centers, you're like, oh no. I will say it's very different from standard diplomacy, because in the standard diplomacy, if you get to 17 centers, there's only 34 centers on the map. And so when you're at 17, you have half of the centers on the map. And so the rest of the map clearly has to work together against you. And there's oftentimes they lose even when they do that. Mm-hmm. This map is not like that. If the game never ends and everyone else on the map is told, hey, you guys have one job and it's to kill Spain here, they will eventually kill you. It's going to take forever. But eventually you are going to lose, because even though you have 65 centers, there's, 300 or something in the game?
324 or something like that, I think. It's...
So you're still only at, 20% of the total centers. So, you still have to tell people, hey, please don't kill me. Here, I would probably talk to the two other leaders, Athapasca and Tokugawa, and say, hey guys, alright, you stopped me, well played, I'm impressed, good job, let's win together, let's go for a 3-way, and then just accept the 3-way, because if Athapasca and Tokugawa and you work together, ain't no way the rest of the map can stop you. And then maybe Athapasca would say, hey, we can cut Tokugawa out of this, because Tokugawa is the easiest one to stop, because they were given so many centers by everyone else.
Yeah.
They can get cut out of more places like Formosa and the one in Australia and stuff. So if the rest of the board tries to stop them from running away with it, then they can't. But also, Athapasca doesn't have much growth. They have a good amount. They can keep killing Inuit, right?
Yeah.
And so how many do they need to get to their max?
Good question. They require 6 to get to their victory condition here.
Yeah, and they can get 6 from Inuit, right? Inuit has 6?
Yes, and important note here, so Inuit is an Athapascan vassal. They've been doing that on the condition that Athapasca take 1 dot per year, right? Athapasca broke that the previous year, but that was with Inuit's permission, based on what was going on at the time. So Athapasca, if they want to keep Inuit's goodwill, they're not going to go all out and try and take everything instantly, right? But at the same time, if they want to get to that 100% very quickly, they probably can. There aren't very many Inuit fleets in this in this region, and there are quite a lot of Athapascan units. Although that one's English, important to note.
Sure. But yeah, so that would be my like strategic diplomatic approach, is to go to the other people who can win and say, hey, let's win together. We can make this happen. And I would probably offer to feed Athapasca some dots. Like there's some French dots in the area.
Mm-hmm. Now,
yeah, I would be tempted. But it's tough because if we give Athapasca those French dots, then we lose our position, right? Like you have some stalemate set up.
yeah.
So I don't know about that if I go that far, but I would tell Athapasca, hey, look, we'll keep our stalemate set up, but let's try to win together. Let's go for that.
Yeah.
But like if we're keeping this stalemate, all of our units are stuck here. It doesn't really get us much. And then I try to find other countries who aren't going to win, and be like, hey, look, do you really want to stop me from winning? Haven't I been nice to you? Like, maybe Netherlands or something? Right? And just say, like, hey, look, you can attack me, you can take some centers off of me, but you're not going to win the game. Like, we've been such good allies. Just leave me alone. Mm-hmm. And then do the puppy dog eyes and... I don't know.
So, my problem with doing that part of it is just that everyone on this board became hyper-focused on stopping me, right? When I was going towards the solo, this isn't something... Well, everyone except England, anyway. This isn't something you see in a lot of games, even high-level games. People who can't win at the end tend to not be hugely invested in stopping the leader if they don't get anything else of it themselves, right? In, say, a standard diplomacy game, they do get something else of it because they're playing for the draw, usually. But if you have someone who's in a position where they're going to get eliminated regardless, quite often they'll just let the leader win because, you know, they're just rewarding the other players by stopping you from winning, right? In this game, it was very different. Everyone was 100% on board with stopping the leader. I think there was a comment on the last video from Athapasca saying it was like the most incredible turn of diplomacy they've ever had because there was so many people just working together with a clear focus on this is what we have to do, this is who we have to stop, right? And of course,
cool.
With that coalition now its purpose done, maybe there are some ways that I can work my way back into the good graces of certain people, but I think something that it showed is no one is going to roll over in this game. No one is going to say you can just win this, with the exception of the person that I let live in the first place because they wouldn't be here without me, right? I think that was kind of reasonable. But everyone else, yeah. Okay, well, your general approach was very accurate to exactly what I did, right? Immediately after this happened, basically, I went to Athapasca. I was like, okay, we can still end the game this year, I'm hoping, if we get you to 100%, if we take Tokugawa down by 1 net, right? And if I manage to hang on to enough centers that I stay at 100%, which... That part's not guaranteed, but I figured there might be a way to work it, right? Especially given that Athapasca can take so many dots up here, potentially, or here, right? We could just juggle centers between us on this line to make sure that we're both far enough ahead.
Then maybe take some off France, right? Like, we don't even need to be specifically zero-summing it.
Yes.
Right? If they support you into French centers, that could work out, too.
Yeah.
Be careful about it, obviously, because you want to use your units, but... Yeah, no, I think that's right. Makes a lot of sense.
Yep.
I see Athapasca said yes, and then didn't go along with it.
So Athapasca absolutely said yes, we got a lot of discussion in. I was pretty hesitant to their main demand on it, which was supporting them into these frontline French centers for exactly the reason that you've already expressed, right? Once these French frontline centers go, my line on this front, the line I can actually hold, falls back quite a lot. I don't think I can hold Iowa or Missouri in the long run if those go. And I was just pointing to this saying, hey, you should probably grow from the Inuit dots, because you can take them very easily, and it doesn't demolish the line on my front. Athapasca were pretty resistant to that, but in theory they did agree to us working together to get the joint win. Tokugawa at the same time came to me and went, "What the hell, why are you negotiating a win with Athapasca without me?" Because of course the first thing Athapasca had done after I had proposed that was go to Tokugawa, say, "Hey, Spain is trying to negotiate a win that cuts you out, you should work with me and help me kill Spain together." Like, oh, alright, well, that kind of sucks. So at that point, I start negotiating with Tokugawa as well, saying, okay, well, you know, you guys aren't going to win this without me. There just isn't a way that you will cut me down by so much that you will jump that far ahead. Honestly, I think Athapasca might be able to from this position, just because dots are quite valuable to a power that started on 4 centers, right? And they have a lot of potential growth. If I get cut back enough, I think they might be able to get 25% ahead, but that feels like a stretch. It feels very difficult. So it's like, okay, well...
Yeah, it's like they extra 5 centers or something to get 20% ahead, or something like that. Maybe 8. I forget the exact math. I was more up on this a bit ago, but they only have to get to like 30... 8 or something.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
And so it's like, that's 12 centers. They can take so many so quickly.
Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. See, just in the region that I would assume is in their control if we're pulling them into French dots. I was actually quite worried about this at the time as a possibility if we just let the Athapascans come forward, which is why I was so resistant to allowing them to move forward on the French line. And I was telling France, hey, I will just indefinitely support you here. We have some kind of line. It's a bit difficult to hold on this front, but we can at least slow them down and like keep you in place long enough that you'll survive this game, I hope, right? And France was pretty in favour of that as well. They were very happy to say, yeah, I'll keep accepting your support. I know I kind of stopped you from getting the win, but all's good on that front, right? And I was like, yeah, absolutely. I can understand why you stopped me from winning, but at the same time, I don't want Athapasca to win, so I will happily continue to support you. But yeah, I went to Tokugawa and Athapasca and basically said, hey, you know, you guys need to include me in this joint conversation on how we win. If Athapasca doesn't want to win as a duo with me, then we have to win as a trio. Otherwise, we're just going to let more people in, right? And we're so far ahead of anyone else here that it just makes sense for the three of us to work together to make this happen. And they agreed in principle with that as well, which was nice.
Yeah, but also, like, that's what they said to you, when obviously they're like, yo, dude, if we just take a lot of centers from Spain, we only have to get, like, 12. Look how many centers there are in North America. He's losing a ton of centers elsewhere. Right? Like, that's... I don't know. I assume in these conversations that everyone is talking to other people about smaller and smaller groups.
Yep.
And we're only talking about the 3 level, so... Yeah.
Yep. That's exactly it, right? At this point, I was really wanting to go for the duo win with Athapasca. We will come back to that because there were some negotiations that happened at the same time with that were pretty relevant to this too. But we also have to look at what my negotiation approach elsewhere was. Obviously here, I'm just going, you know, Ayutthaya, I'm sorry that I manipulated you last turn to stop you from taking these dots. I'm still fully in your corner. I just saw a possibility of a solo. You can have these because I already promised them to them. And I'll help you against Portugal and the Netherlands if you move out that way in future. And Ayutthaya were very happy to do that, right? They're just saying, yeah, I'll get these dots and then go this way. Because Ayutthaya needs to grow a lot to be able to get the win here. They need to get another, 14? That's quite a lot of centers for them to get out into.
Yeah, and there's someone that you'd love to start growing at the expense of Tokugawa, notably.
Absolutely.
You'd be so happy if they took a bunch of centers.
Yep.
So,
As much as I'm saying we need to joint win with these guys, every center that they're losing is a chance at me getting enough ahead of them to solo victory or to duo victory with Athapasca, so super happy with
Athapasca to
that.
say it's not worth it to go with Tokugawa, right? If Athapasca decides to not to, then like Baja California goes and maybe a couple of other ones. So
Yes. Yeah, actually, when I was counting up natural Athapascan centers, I didn't even look at these ones. Aquala is definitely something they could take. Alutz is definitely something they could take as well. Hawaii may be a little bit more of a stretch, but it feels like they might be able to get in there eventually. Probably just these two, to be fair. But yeah. I was definitely worried about their possibility of going on a solo run if things went on too long. But yeah, in other areas, in this area of the board, Netherlands had approached me and basically said, hey, I'm gonna go for this area. You should just let it happen and hold this line against Poland. I was going up to them, I basically decided, no, that's backwards, right? The way that I've got to handle this here. This is the massive threat to me. Okay. So this is the far away threat, but this is the threat that can be placated in my mind. If you go to Poland here and you say, okay, I'm going to give you a bunch of centers here and run back and, consolidate in the center, they might be happy enough with that they truce out, because they don't really want to try and force the centers that are on the sea line, because I've got Mediterranean control. They have to dedicate so much to that. It doesn't necessarily feel worth it. Whereas if I just hold this line against Poland and I try to placate Netherlands by saying, yeah, you can have France, then suddenly everything I have is sandwiched between the two of them, right? And this also gets sandwiched between enemies. And that's if Netherlands wants to continue, which I think they probably would in that scenario. So I went the other way with it. I went to Poland and I basically said, look, what do you need in order for me to peace out? In order for us to have peace here? Because I know you're also aiming for the win, right? And you need to grow a lot to get there. They also need to grow 18, I think. So I'm very happy to just hand you back almost everything on this line and draw back to a point where I can defend France, if you're happy to peace out with me. As Poland, do you reckon you take that offer?
I mean, any offer from Spain in this position that doesn't involve a huge number of centers being seated is not one that I'm gonna take.
How many centers would you consider huge, though? That's the question. 5.
I want Sarajevo, Trieste, Venice, Innsbruck, Freiburg. I think those 5.
I think I offer them Luxembourg, Strasbourg, Freiburg, Innsbruck as my offer.
Yeah, I'd probably say yes to that.
Now, would you actually act as a yes, or would you just say yes and then keep going? That's the other question.
I mean, how once I get all of those centers, I probably also take Innsbruck and Trieste and Sarajevo, but then I also probably get another ones, because you are right. I do need to get centers to win, and I think that's where I'm going to get most of my centers.
Yeah.
So, and with all of the extra builds, and we have units down here. But yeah, and with all those builds, right, I have enough units to fight in, I can fight Netherlands too, basically.
Yeah.
Although, I don't have any cores. Because I'm not Austria, I'm Poland, so my cores are very far from this front.
It's tough.
I'd probably just say yes, take the centers, and keep going, and stay at peace with Netherlands. Honestly. But, I mean, hey, if you're offering to cede centers to me, then yeah, I'll take them every time.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, again, it was partially my judgment of the player, and also partially because I thought this is the only thing that I can do here, right? I really just can't give this up to Netherlands. That feels devastating in the long run.
Yeah, it's Yeah, and so you're gonna lose the stuff anyways, so might as well get something out of it while you sell it,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Like, hey, if I try to hold Luxembourg, Strasbourg, Freiburg, I will not keep it, but maybe I can get them to turn around and like I can get them. I think it's a really good call.
Yeah. So that was my approach on this front. Of course, my approach in South America is just kill them, right?
Yeah. Hey guys, I have more units than you. My position is stronger than yours. I have fleets in South Atlantic Ocean.
Yeah.
I wish I'd done this years ago.
It's not an easy fight, notably. Remember, Portugal has 2 fleets over here. They have a fleet in Golfo San Jorge as well. And army, and a fleet here, and a fleet here, and then Netherlands has an army here, fleet here. It's a major war, and it's a really messy war. Like, this is not... Usually in diplomacy, you see people advancing slowly on a line, right? In this case, we've got a random army down here, some fleets that will be fighting other fleets in this area, right? A lot of armies up here, but they'll take a little while to get to the front line. These armies are behind the lines, kind of, but the Portuguese armies are also behind the lines over here. And then we've got a random Netherlands unit that's just in the middle of nowhere, which is really difficult to deal with, because...
Yeah, I mean, you say middle of nowhere, I say most important center province in the area. It's just thankful that Netherlands only has the 1 unit.
Yes.
So even though it's in Curry, it doesn't do much.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, this is the problem with making a hard blitz, right? For a bunch of centers last year. Because you maximized your centers last year, you were not maximizing potential future tactics. It was very short term, and that was the right play to go for a win. But it means that this year, you're not going to have a good time.
Yeah.
And there's going to be some... You're going to need to do some reorganization to get your units ready for an actual war. But the good news is you just have so many more armies, right? If you just do a count of all of your armies around here, right, and then do a count of Portugal's and Netherlands, you will be in every province that can hold an army, and you're behind their lines too, so even if there are some maybe natural stalemates, they're not going to last.
Yeah, I've also
plus
got
your
these
2
2
fleets
right?
are more useful than those fleets on the west, because SPO is just less relevant than SAO.
Yeah, this being able to slip into these areas is really important.
Yeah.
These are kind of important as well. Like, getting into Chiloe is something, right? It feels like Portugal will win the war on this side of the continent, at least early on. But as long as I can consolidate...
Yeah, and you have fleet in Quito, and so it's not like they're going to keep the... it's not like they're going to have the advantage down there forever, so...
Yep.
Yeah, it's definitely a war. It's not like they're going to completely fold and crumble immediately, but it's like, I think, 4 years and they'll be done.
Yes.
Maybe. 4 years is a little fast. Like, I don't know if you can take Sao Paulo and, like, everything, but it's going to be pretty clear that you're the one pushing very soon.
Yeah.
And I say that because this year, there's a chance you go down minus in the region. Like... just because of how poorly positioned a lot of your units are. Like, Chiloe, you've pointed out, is probably going to go. I don't think you hold... Like, you're going to lose one of Chapaya or Kalama, I think.
Yeah.
And so things like this mean that this year is going to be rough. But even with them taking centers, even with them rebuilding, you have too much of a majority here. Frankly, you're probably going to disband a couple of the useless armies up north. Like, in Paramurbo after. I assume you're going minus this year.
Yeah.
And so some of these units up north are probably going to be unnecessary because you have this army line across, and extra units up north aren't that important.
Yep. I completely agree. Also, just the diplomatic situation in the region is kind of... It also... I mean, we've already said this is definitely a war area, right? This just makes sense to stay at war in, because it's the region that we have growth potential in long term and short term. The other thing is just diplomatically with Portugal. Talking with them, I did reach out to see if there was any compromise that we could come to, because I was doing that with everyone at the time, right? And Portugal was very sort of upfront with me and saying, look, I think our relationship has ended in this game. I just want to stay at war with you now. There's no point in us trying to talk things out. This is just where we've got to, and, you know, the board says we kind of have to continue because of the way we're positioned. I really respect that approach and being honest with me rather than trying to talk me into something that we both knew we weren't gonna do, right? At least he was upfront with me about it. But I do think he loses this war in the long run, so maybe he should have tried to talk his way out of it. Not that I would have stopped.
Yeah, I mean, it's strictly speaking, it is never tactically correct to tell someone you're at war with them.
Mm-hmm.
Ever.
Now, see, it can definitely give you some level of respect with that person in the longer run that you would lose if you lied to them, right? So it can be tactically
strategically
correct. Yeah,
strategically it might make sense, but tactically they are going to play better. And this has, in more normal positions of diplomacy, once you tell someone you're at war with them, especially if you're upfront about it like this, then that means they're going to go all in on their negotiations with your neighbors to get them to attack you.
Yes.
In this position, obviously, it's different. You're one center from winning or over winning. Like, you are clearly the sole threat. Everyone's attacking you anyways. You're going to try to do whatever anyways, so that part, it doesn't change much, so it's more reasonable in this position. But sometimes, I don't know, like, you have positions early in games where people are like, hey, I'm Turkey and you're Austria, and I don't want to work with you, so I'm just going to tell you, hey, we're at war. And then this Austria might have been considering an AT, but now it's like, all right, I guess I'm going to sell my soul to Russia. And, like, shit, I'll give them Vienna if they just take it with one army, and they'll support me into Bulgaria type stuff. Like, once someone knows you're at war with them, it changes the math for them a lot.
Yes.
Because the worst case goes from Russia, like, if Russia sides with Turkey in that war, then Austria is dead completely, and they know that Turkey is hostile, whereas previously, like, if Russia just asked for Vienna, they're always going to say no, and they're going to try to get Turkey to attack Russia. But, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I recommend against doing it, because people do it too often. There are times where it's okay, and yeah, it can earn you respect, but armies earn respect too. And a strong position is a really, really useful negotiation tool. So, I wouldn't recommend ever doing it, but hey, respect to those who do.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Plus, also, just philosophically, I almost never feel that way. There's almost never a point where I say, you know, the sport says we have to fight. Like, yeah.
Yeah, I think there's something to be said for that, just keeping a flexible approach regardless of what the board tactics say, because there's always stuff you can do, right? Portugal absolutely can try to work with me in this position. There is a possibility that I would work with them. I don't think it's a reasonable possibility with me being the player that I am, and I think Portugal had the read on that, the correct read, so use their best assessment, right? But I guess there was a possibility.
Yeah, once you put down these extra armies in the continent, right, it's really tough.
Mm-hmm.
And I know you guys had already talked about getting your armies convoyed out, and I mean, but you started doing that, right? And then, like, there were stabs and things got crazy. So, I don't know. There are some universes, sometimes things can go crazy, and I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Like, respect to Portugal, but also they're not going to win. So, a little less respect.
Alright. Well, yeah, so that was basically the state of negotiations here, right? The state of negotiations here is that I'm appeasing Poland. State of negotiation here, I think, negotiation-wise, I wasn't really clear on what would happen here. I think Abyssinia was generally positive to me, more positive than a lot of the other players were, because they wanted to hold their line against Safavids, and they realized that, hey, if Spain isn't a massive threat to win, Safavids aren't going to hold back, because Safavid wants to make that 100% mark, right? So I was kind of aware, okay, I'm probably going to lose Gdames, I might lose Tripoli as well, but I'm just going to put my faith in and hope that they don't go for it, and talk a little bit I can't remember exactly what I said, but I figured I'd just
Yeah.
focus on trying to kill Portugal in as many places as I can. Because, importantly, Portugal do have build centres here, right? They have a lot of units here. Currently, I think fewer units than they have centres, but in the long term, they can keep these units maintained if they keep centres elsewhere that they just can keep peaceful, right? So I wanted to hit Portugal as hard as I could wherever I could to try and reduce their possibility of keeping extra units in South America. Which is another reason why I would really like Ayutthaya to grow in this region and just push through this area. Yeah. Before we get to the moves, there was one more super important thing that happened this phase, and I think, at least to my eyes, it was probably the most important thing that happened. And that was, while I have said that England had told me that they were willing to give up their centres in order for me to win, if I really needed them, I didn't check that before I did these builds. It was something they'd said earlier in the game, and of course, when they gave me Barbuda, I was like, oh, okay, they're fulfilling that. I'm sure they'll consider it reasonable for me to go in and grab more stuff now, right? Yeah. I should have checked that with them.
Sure, because as I said, right, a lot of Englands who are okay with you taking a dot aren't okay with you killing all of them as you crumble everywhere.
Yeah. The most important thing, I think, in England's eyes was they were willing to give me the dots to get me over the line if I needed to get over the line, right?
But it doesn't look like you're getting over the line. It looks like you're stopped. It looks like you're not going to solo anymore, so it looks like you're just killing them for no purpose, and it's not actually going to accomplish anything. Exactly. So why should he die for no benefit?
Yes. So, with I reached out to them during this phase and said, hey, yeah, I'm going to go for Bahamas and I'm going to go for Jamaica. This is what I'm doing with my fleets, right? I hope you're good with this. He sends me a message back saying, I'm becoming a pirate of the Caribbean. I'm no longer in your service. I am going to bring everything back and attack you. And it wasn't quite as jolly as that. He clearly had some regrets over the whole idea, but it was... His intent was pretty clear with it, right? You've built these fleets. This is not okay with me. I'm going to do everything I can to attack you now. And I was like, oh, God.
Barbados to Guadalupe, Sargasso, Cedo, and Tias Current, Massachusetts Bay to Gulf Stream. He's got 2 fleets in the North Atlantic.
Yeah. There's a lot that can come back.
Your line doesn't hold if England hits you. God, wait till he builds an army in Bahamas and convoys it. Alright, well...
Yeah, suddenly a massive potential issue there, right? And importantly as well, he has been working with Athapasca on trying to attack these French provinces in the past, right? That's the
France
whole
is not gonna last.
Yeah, so Athapasca and him had a decent working relationship at this point, and of course, Athapasca was talking to him at the same time as this. If he comes in and attacks me here, my line on this front is probably going to collapse very, very quickly as well. I could just ignore it, I could let him take these with the fleets, which is, actually looking at it, probably the right decision in that case. Because... I don't care how big England gets here, as long as... well, I do care, but I don't care as much as I do about Athapasca getting far ahead of me, right? But suddenly, that's a massive emergency.
I don't know if I agree, Meme.
Mm-hmm.
I think if England gets big and puts down fleets in Barbados and Bermuda, and gives you a serious war in the Caribbean, we're in rough shape.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree there at all. I think that's an extremely
and Bahamas,
good point.
Of course, because they still have Bahamas.
Mm-hmm.
So, honestly, my top priority for the entire game has always been finishing England. But now it's really my top priority.
Suddenly we are seeing why your point of view may have been right. I think last turn we also saw why my point of view was potentially correct, because people didn't like, I had the ability to go for this solo win because I was able to not worry about the England front at all, right?
You got closer to a solo because you weren't as much of a threat earlier.
Yes.
And you had more dots that were potential captures. I suspect, as always, a closer balance of the two would have been fine. And, like, you needed to just be able to take more centers. Because I suspect last turn, if you had told England, hey, I'm going to take 5 of your centers for a solo, England still would have said yes. Right, here's the path, I'm going to solo, let me take all of them. You just didn't have units in position. You could really only take one center. And so if you could have taken more, you see it would have been the difference maker and you would have won. So...
Yep.
I think could have worked. But here, the, like, extended... Right, these phases, it's like 3 days per phase type stuff. So you're telling this England he has to sit here and watch their position crumble for the next 2 weeks, real time, so that you have a slightly better chance at a solo? Like, yeah.
Yeah, no.
Anyways, good luck in that war. Man, that's when you get Inuit on side. You tell Inuit, hey Inuit, England's attacking me, Athapasca's attacking me, I need a new vassal in the Caribbean. How is about you get over here? I hear the Bahamas are pretty sweet this time of year.
I mean, to be honest, I think Inuit would have accepted the possibility of going in and attacking England. They were very happy to just land in random places, right? We've got Guillaume and Navarre. They wouldn't have betrayed Athapasca for anything, so if Athapasca had told them not to do it, they probably wouldn't have done it.
It's the Bahamas, man. It's such a good vacation destination.
Oh yeah.
Like, think of how happy your whatever. What are the names of people in the Navy?
Sailors? I don't know.
Sailors, Navy men? I don't know. Anyways, think of how happy all of the people are to vacation in Bahamas. Right? They'll have a blast. So...
That wasn't my approach, as you can probably imagine, right?
Sure, yeah.
My initial approach was to try and prove that this would get me to a win, because...
Which everyone looking at this board says, ain't no way.
Yeah, well, my opinion was, hey, England's probably going to be okay with it if it does win the game, like, win in terms of draw as well, immediately.
Okay, sure. If it gets the game to end right now, and it lets you and Athapasca both get a dual victory right here, you think England would still be okay?
Yeah.
Sure. And that's a more plausible point.
Talking with England, they were kind of okay with that idea, and that was back when before Athapasca had gone to Tokugawa with what I was talking about, right? I was talking with Athapasca about all of this, and I was like, okay, England's happy to help us with this, as long as you confirm to England that you're good to do it, right? And of course, Athapasca goes to England and goes, I fully support you being a Pirates of the Caribbean and demolishing Spain here. I'm not going to work with Spain under any circumstances. And at the meantime, Athapasca comes to me and says, oh yeah, I told England that I'd be happy to go with that. But they said that they were going to stab you and attack you anyway, so I don't think we'll be able to do it. It's just like, oh my god. And England came to me. England comes to me saying, Athapasca isn't willing to do this. I'm like, okay, well, I think I believe England more than I believe Athapasca.
Yeah, really?
Just like, oh my god. I feel like in Athapasca's position, I would probably do something similar. I would be like, oh my god, England stabbing Spain would be so good for me here. I'll just let it happen. But I was...
let it happen. You'll tell them they have to do that.
Yeah, exactly. As Spain, I was so annoyed with Athapasca after this. Not just because they were doing this, right? It was more because they were constantly lying to me about doing it and telling me, England won't work with us. This is all England's fault. I'm like, how stupid do you think I am? It's pretty blatant what you're doing here.
Yeah, it's really like... Yeah. That, how stupid do you think I am? I get those vibes a lot. And it's really... Those are the ones that get me, the most frustrated. But I'm like... Oh, Lord. Like...
I can't blame
we all play diplomacy.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Like, we've all been here, and... there are times to try to understand when you're lying, and I can get if you have a different read of England. If I thought that England wasn't talking to you, then there's a chance that that play would work, right? And having that read of the board is important, because if you view everything only through the lens of their interactions with me, and you forget about the other players' interactions with other players on the board, your negotiations are gonna be worse, and it's gonna be tough. But like, the idea that like you're not the only one playing diplomacy, right? We're not playing against bots. It's what makes the game so cool and exciting. But when you give someone an offer, it has to be an offer that they believe and they're going to accept. That's the hard part of the game. And I think people forget that a lot. And they're like, oh man, this deal would be so good if the other person said yes to this. Look at how much it gives me. And I'm like, yeah, but they're never going to accept it. But they just assume that we will. And like, yeah.
Yep. But yeah, so England, currently a massive threat. I do want to emphasize the fact, I think if England attacks me here, then Athapasca wins the game. Because Athapasca has basically no threat from anyone right now. They have a massively consolidated force in a corner, right? In order to hold them back, I'm having to commit so many units to this front. And if I get demolished here, there's no way I can maintain this. And we've already discussed how even if they just take these dots, and they can probably take these dots as well, they can quite easily get not only to 100%, but to 125%. So...
yeah, if England attacks you and nobody reacts to Athapasca, then yes, things will be rough.
even if people do react to Athapasca, how do they react to Athapasca, right?
Tokugawa for a second.
Athapasca borders Tokugawa, yeah. They have some fleets in this region.
The Death Star, right? You've got fleets in North Pacific Ocean, right?
Yeah, but look how much of a
Athapasca...
buffer Athapasca has between them and the North Pacific Ocean. There's North Equatorial. They can try and make landing here, but in order to push into the actual Athapasca mainland, you have to go through like 3 layers of sea on this front. Or you get into the Arctic Ocean convoy over there. Yeah, but they have defenses here, right?
Sure. But it's not like the game is gonna end. Like, if you stop defending against Athapasca, I agree, the game's gonna end. But it's not like you're gonna have to disband all of your armies on this front just because you lose some centers down here, right? Like...
yeah, but if
it's
England is
sure.
coming in and taking this stuff, then I have to try and... well, I can't just let that happen, I suppose, but these are units...
you just let it happen. Exactly. You can just disband your armies elsewhere. It's like, this is one of those threats that people make, and it's like, yeah, if you want to let Athapasca win the game as the way to get me to stop attacking you, then sure, you can let them win the game and you lose too. But I'm a small power here, and you're the board leader, so threatening to throw to second place is like, you lose so much more than I do. Like,
yeah.
Go for it.
Okay, I guess the point I want to make here is, I think Athapasca winning is a very real possibility if England attacks me here.
Fair. I think Athapasca is in a very strong position and has more potential for growth than it sounds like people recognize. Completely agree.
Yes. So I view this as an absolute emergency, something I have to solve, right? Getting England back on board. Your suggestion was bringing Inuit in against them. I really don't think that works. I think England still beats me up in this area, even if I get Inuit on board, right? But I didn't even consider that.
Yeah, maybe. I don't like England. Their position isn't that good, right? So if you look at just the fleets in this region, like not including North Atlantic. They've got 4 fleets to your 3, but they've got that Gulf Stream choke point. So if you can bottle them up in Florida Current, it's going to be remarkably difficult for them to go through. And then once you include the North Atlantic Ocean, that's where Inuit starts to match England's fleet count. And then if you look even north just a little bit more, Inuit's got more. And so here's where, if you get Inuit on side, and for example, if they support themselves into Sargasso Sea from North Atlantic, you've got a very good chance. I would support that from Barbuda. Inuit ends up in there, and then you probably can take Puerto Rico by letting Inuit in there in the fall. Something like that.
Honestly,
right?
yeah,
or
that is...
just go for Bermuda.
That is probably a decent approach. I do lose Caribbean Sea in the process, right, to this English fleet, so...
But it doesn't actually take anything if you can afford to use Orinoco and Cartagena to defend, so...
Yeah. That is true.
I don't know. I think the war, if you get Inuit on side, the war with you plus Inuit against England here is going to go well for you two. Not a guarantee, obviously, because Inuit might not work with you. But I think, like, come on, who doesn't want to go to the Bahamas?
Alright, well, my approach that I took was quite different. I basically, after the point at which it was obvious that Athapasca was not going to work towards the plan that England was willing to do, right? I went to England, basically said, okay, look, this was entirely my bad. I took what you said earlier in the game, and I kind of just applied it to this situation without asking you, right? Saying that I'm gonna take some of your centers, I'm gonna build these two, and grab Bahamas and Jamaica. I was just assuming that you would be good with that, and I really shouldn't have made that assumption. I should have come to you, I should have asked. If I had done that, and if you had said, no, that's not okay, I would have happily waived these two, or built armies there, or whatever. I would never in a million years have built fleets and attacked you here if I had known that doing so would cause you to be angry with me. Because if you do that, like, I think I lose the game. And you can see from what I've done in the past that I'm being honest about that, right? I had so many opportunities to attack England, and I never took that opportunity. So I am happy to give you my word here. My fleets in this area will do whatever you tell them to. I will 100% stick to what you want. I will not take Jamaica. I will not take Bahamas. I will do...
That's great. But yeah, I'll do whatever you want.
Yeah, exactly. It's balls entirely in your court. Like, you are in control still. You can name yourself Pirates of the Caribbean if you want to, because at this point he had changed his name. He had originally changed his nickname on the server to Admiral of Spain.
Wait, what?
Yeah. And then he changed it halfway through this phase to Pirates of the Caribbean.
Uh-oh. Yeah, hey, look, I got some fleets that want to be privateers for the English.
Yep. So God. I basically said to him, like, you can stay as the Pirate of the Caribbean. In fact, you are the Lord of the Caribbean. You can do whatever you want there. Like, this is all good. Just don't attack me, please. These fleets, my 3 fleets here are yours. And I put a lot of appeal to emotion in that, right? A lot of, like, I don't want to lose this game because I've upset you with my builds. And I think either it made him feel bad enough about it that he took that on board, or he felt good enough about the fact that I wasn't going to do it, that he reconsidered this, but he said yes. And
hey, let's go. That's amazing.
Yeah. And I think, honestly, that... I mentioned earlier that I, like, in the series, that some of my plays around Africa were play of the game on my part. Actually, maybe this was play of the game, because I think if this had not happened, like, if I had not convinced England to not attack me here, I'm in serious, serious trouble. So, if we go through here to the moves... You can see England does come back to attack me, but all of this was choreographed. So England basically said, hey, you know, I've already agreed with Athapasca that I'm going to do this stuff against you. The idea is that I'm going to convoy an Inuit army into one of these centers, because that was what the 3 of us all agreed to do. So I'm going to set up as if I'm going to do that, but I'll tell you what all my moves are, I'll tell you what to do with your fleets to counter this kind of stuff. And then in the full turn, I can just do something else rather than convoy it in, and it wastes some of their moves as well, right?
Yes. And if they know all the tactics that are going on with it, it's a big deal. And yeah, getting an Inuit army in Catawba would be really bad.
Yep. And it's not even something I could very easily defend against, right?
Like, pull Maryland back.
Yes.
And then it's still guesswork. So, yeah.
It would be so tough. He also was perfectly happy to let me bring my fleet out, or at least he told me he wants to bring my fleet out of the Caribbean, which I think in his situation I would probably just say keep it in Panama or something, keep it out of the way.
Sure.
But Yeah,
See,
I'm happy to do
and
whatever.
he's like, dude, he's not gonna dot me, so let's just get it out of the way. Plus,
Mhm.
Occurrence getting out of the way anyways, so
Yep. So
things you can do with reputation for not dotting people.
yeah, there you go. The fact that I kept England alive earlier eventually paid off in that England didn't stab me. But if I had killed them earlier, then they wouldn't have stabbed me as well. So
Yep.
it's a
But
little
hey,
questionable how good of a move that was on my part.
it did. I mean, it is important to remember that diplomatic relations are a form of currency in this game, and you can build it up by being good at talking to people, but also making moves, honoring agreements are like that's important too. You just have to know how to actually spend it because diplomatic capital is not can't just cash it in and literally say, "Hello, I have been your friend this game. Throw to me now." You have to be better about navigating it than that.
Yep.
So,
Uh,
yeah.
there is something else really important that England does here that is not in the Caribbean at all, that I asked for, which is an AO2 and an AO3 dislodging rock or rise. Because I knew...
Oh, hell yes.
I was aware that Netherlands and Portugal were working very closely together, and Netherlands had outright told me, you know, I'm gonna take over France, just let this happen, it will be best for you. Like, okay, they are definitely convoying the Dutch army in here, because that's the only army they can really do that with, right? Maybe the Inuit army would have made some sense, but it makes sense to keep this here to try and deal with this nonsense.
Mess with Madrid.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he broke the convoy.
So he
1,
broke the
2,
convoy.
3, 4. Yeah, 4-fleet convoy with the army. All of them not doing anything. Oh yeah.
That is actually enormous. And at
And
the same
Wales
time,
can't even get
like,
convoyed anymore because Rockall Rise is the important province to convoy out.
yep. Yeah.
Boom.
And of course, he also just walks into Iceland at the same time, so he is starting to get fleets back towards his homeland as well.
Because he does hate the Netherlands.
Yes.
That's really true, right? Netherlands, okay, yeah, that's a perfect target.
Yeah, so my one ally staying as my ally here is super important. You can see Poland is... They didn't believe me that I was going to back out. They did still support stuff, right? And get supported by the Netherlands into Luxembourg. But I do just walk out of all the centres they want to take. Innsbruck, Freiburg, Strasbourg, Luxembourg. They walk into all of them for free. And they're very happy with me this turn. Because I don't know... Like, I feel like from my perspective, it's very, very obvious that this is a great deal for me. If they just peace out here. But when you're playing from the other perspective, right, you don't always see that. you don't always see that this is, like, not Spain being generous at all. This is Spain doing something that they absolutely need to do, right? I'm trying to think how best to explain that. I don't know if I've worded that very well. But yeah. Basically, I think Poland were more grateful to me for this than they probably should have been.
I mean, how many games of diplomacy have you played where someone's in a position where they can't hold on and they fight anyways, and then they make my life worse?
Oh, that is true. I've been in a lot of games like that.
Right? That's all the time, right? People almost never recognize when their position is cruddy, right? And they always assume that they're strong. And you recognized your position was weak and made moves because your position was weak, and you got something out of a bad position. Like, I don't know. I think that's that's a sign of a good player.
Yeah, I'll happily take that compliment. I think, yeah, Poland were very happy with me for doing this, and of course I'm more than happy to just back off that line and make sure that I have a decent defense further back. Because they also didn't ask for anything more than this. So
oh yeah,
they're going to take the 4.
And they might even be good on it, because they moved out of Vienna.
Yes.
Right?
Well, they moved out of Vienna into Innsbruck. They moved this to Nuremberg.
That's Innsbruck, not Bavaria?
Yes, I think.
Alright, I hate the dots. But yeah, going to the army. That makes sense. Sure. Yeah, okay.
And this one is just preventing Freiburg from backwards retreating them, right? If I was trying to hold my line.
Nuremberg would be an annoying place, for sure.
Yeah. So they've
Yeah,
moved
okay.
everything forward, but they have left Vienna unoccupied here. This is true.
Yeah, and they didn't pull Warsaw West.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's a good sign. Like if Warsaw moved to like Ruthenia or something, but no, Kiev was occupied. I don't know,
Yeah.
man. Attacking from these European miners, right, from Austria and Poland, like you get so far away so quickly because Europe is so small. Like the provinces are so small.
Yes.
Um,
It's like if you build
yeah,
a unit in Krakow and then you need to get it to Freiburg, for example, that's what 1, 2, 3, 4 steps, which is 2 whole years to get from here to here. And that's even before it's gotten involved in the war. That's just like walking there.
yeah.
It's a
Well,
really long time.
yeah. I expect them to start coring Nuremberg
Mhm.
for fun.
I would be less than happy if they did that, but I wouldn't say anything about it because at this point I need every friend I can get.
Exactly. All right. Anyways, that's sweet. But I mean, good job here.
Yep.
Hold on. And then you're made a play for Athens, which you got, right? You just took it?
I think there's... Oh, yeah, yeah, I cut this. Yes, so I get Athens here. I bounce him out of Sarajevo. It's possibly not a long-term gain, given this is going to retreat to Macedonia, right? He's got 2 on Sarajevo here.
Yeah.
But,
And if Levantine Sea keeps tapping Ionia,
yep.
you're not gonna get anywhere. And unfortunately, they're gonna tap Ionian and Athens, so you can't break Aegean.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You need to get a fleet into Tripoli to get into Levantine Sea.
Yes, but I also don't want to annoy Abyssinia right now by
But
putting
like,
a threat on Levantine,
I'm
right?
just going after Constantinople, man. I wanna...
Yeah, but at this point, I think they were. I think the 2 of them were aligned. I say that, but he did just walk into Smyrna, so maybe that's not true.
Maybe not. And look, Abyssinia did back out of Fezzan and Jallo to cover
Hmm.
Cairo and moved into SAO too. Or,
Yeah.
not SAO, sorry, Sahara too. So, I mean, look, things are working out.
Like, none of this was out of Abyssinia trusting me. I think this was all because of other, like, things that are happening with them, right? They don't trust Congo. They don't massively trust Mali. I think they trust Mali enough, but they're like uncertain about Mali, which is I think why they're covering Darfur here. And of course they've got a massive threat coming in on this front, so they can't really. Maybe they feel they can't really afford to attack me as well.
Well, they clearly trust you a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
They trust you not. Like, if they thought you were walking into Jallo and Fezzan, right, they wouldn't have made these moves. So they're like, hey, look, Spain's not attacking me here. It's fine. I can afford to have a peaceful border.
Yeah, but also, like, look at how bad that attack would be walking into Jello and Fezan. There's no
Absolutely.
centers at borders.
Yeah, it'd be terrible. But also, like, trusting people to not make bad moves is a form of trust.
Mm-hmm. Okay, fair enough. And I have decent relations with Mali here as well, because Poland hasn't backed off them. Which is
Yeah.
another reason why sticking with Poland up here is, I think, going to be so important to me, because they said, at least with some of the builds that they're getting here, they're going to pump more units into Africa. I'm just like looking at that and going, hell yes. Keep Mali distracted from me, please.
Right. And meanwhile, you also come to Lisbon, it looks like,
um,
because Inuits didn't accept the support into Madrid. So your tactics on the Iberian Peninsula went great.
yes.
I mean, this turn's fantastic.
It does. It really turns out a lot better than I was expecting, all things considered. I do... Over here, I am just going to lose everything, as
We knew that.
expected. This was actually, I think, asked by Ayutthaya. They wanted to stay in South China Sea instead of getting trapped in the much
Sure.
less useful
Mindoro.
province of Mindoro. So I'm happy to let them do whatever they want to do here. And they try and go in on Tokugawa. Is that this turn, or is this arranged? I don't think this is arranged. I think they actively try and prevent Tokugawa from getting armies back on the mainland. Which is, again, joyous day. I'm very, very happy to see them working against Tokugawa in some way.
Yeah, Ayutthaya still tried to win, right?
Mhm.
So Tokugawa is the rival to that goal.
Yes. And now that the giant threat is
How's Salt
potentially
doing?
gone. How's what's doing, sorry?
Salt doing.
Oh, he has problems.
Oh,
I think at this
yeah.
point he's just in survival mode. He's like, I will turtle up in this area and just try and grab stuff and like grab as much as I can over here and just hope someone ends the game before I die. He was quite disappointed that I didn't get the win on the last turn.
Yeah. We've got Salt rooting for you. Why do we still... Well, you can work with the guy.
I know, right?
Anyways.
It's like the only thing myself and Salt need to have to work together is about 3 years worth of territory between us.
Yeah.
Right? We need to not be neighbors, or even close to neighbors.
I will say, you have, I think, more than 3 years of territory between you guys.
We're pretty close over here, actually.
That's a fleet in Sarajevo, man.
Yeah, okay, fair enough.
And he doesn't have any units in that part of this border.
This doesn't even count as his territory anymore. Like, look at what the Ottomans are doing.
Yeah.
All
Plus,
right.
the starting position was like a million miles away.
Yeah.
Anyways, all right.
I
That's good.
think we've
We're
looked at
glad.
every region except South America. I did want to focus in on this because this is the most units I've ever committed to force disbanding one unit in a turn.
And it's tough. Let's see. And it all looks guaranteed to me. Kalina can't get cut, so Karib is gonna get hit. You double supported into Bellum, so St. Marcos Bay couldn't support Karib out. And you cover every other province,
Yep.
which is a million. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah.
Yep.
Karib is a strong place.
Yeah, and I don't know if this is overkill, because maybe it would have been fine to just chase this army
Let it
down
retreat
into a
to
place,
Bellum.
but I wanted
Yeah.
Netherlands out of here. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
I really hate taking from G.
Uh,
Yeah, that's my issue. From attacking Bellum from G,
Oh, I see.
in order to force you did this, I don't love that at all.
See, I thought that the most likely way they were going to save this unit was if they support this down, right, from Carib into Bellum, and cut G in some way. And then this unit stays alive, and I really want Netherlands out.
Yeah, I mean, look, to kill Karib, you did it. It is popped, and it will always be popped. I'm not sure that's tactically optimal. Like, I think you might have preferred just like messing with Goiás or Chiquitano or whatever. With G, I think Portugal is the bigger issue here, and one measly army isn't going to make that much of a difference. Whereas, like, needing to spend a full extra, right? We're gonna have to spend a full phase getting back into G. So we like took a year off with this unit, which I don't love. But hey, Karib is popped. It makes your front much cleaner because you don't have to worry about, like, with Karib being there, like, the possible moves that can be done to change things is so different, right? Because you can tap so many different things. You have to deal with so many permutations. It's way more complicated. I just think that the position is still good for you, anyways. Yeah. Better than spending a million units to clean it up. Like, let's say you retreat to Bellum, right? You're still in Amazon, Kalina, and you'd be in Karib, right? You just take Bellum?
Yeah,
right?
Maybe that's fine. I think, potentially, yeah, if he escapes to Bellum, that's not as much of an issue, I suppose, in that you can push out. And in that case, they would have had to, if I was supporting this the other way, they would have had to tap G and use St. Marcos to support it down, which means they wouldn't be in Sierra Rise. So maybe... Yeah,
I think if you support yourself into Bellum here, right? I think you just leave, right? You just maybe tap Bellum from Amazon, maybe not even just support yourself into Karib again or hold with Amazon, essentially. And then you have G, like, do something to Portugal, or maybe tap St. Louis or tap Chiquitano. You have it do something else to get further down the line and to impede Portugal's mobilization.
Yeah.
And then you make it like 100% that the army gets into Bellum, but at the same time, maybe it's not worth it. But like, forced popping a unit is really good, right? I do love popping units. I just... Yes. I don't know if I want to take a year off with G to pop the unit.
And it seems very unlikely that Netherlands is going to be able to rebuild anything. Well, I mean, especially if Poland sides with me here, although I think Poland is going to wait another year before they do anything here, just to make sure that I back off this properly.
Yeah.
Just because, like, Netherlands only has that one dot, and there's a fairly... Is it really worth it for them to put down another army here? And fight with one unit against, like, 9?
I mean, if you think it's so important to make them pop one unit that you're willing to spend 8 units to do it, I think I would build another army down there, yeah?
But, like, for you personally, as Netherlands, if you're trying to grow, you surely want to build somewhere else instead, right? There's plenty of nice places you can build that aren't Army St. Louis.
I'm not even sure I agree. Like, let's say, like, if I'm Netherlands and I still want to win this game, I need you to slow down.
Mm-hmm.
Right, if you take Belgium and St. Louis and kill Portugal in the south, like, I'm never going to win this game. Right, because you're going to win the game. So I need you to not win the game so hard.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, fair, I guess. This war ends up being a mess. In the meantime, you can see Portugal slips into Choima behind me, which I couldn't prevent, manages to mobilize everything along this front and get this into Guarani, but at the same time,
sure.
I can slip into Sao Paulo for free now, or even Rio de Janeiro.
Not Rio, because... Todos?
No, that
doesn't border that. I bet, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that gets you center. That's sweet, and then... you get into Isla?
This is... Yeah, I can get into Las Malvinas. Maybe, Portugal doesn't
Southern Sea is vacant.
They did try and convoy, I think, an Inuit army into Chiloe here. Oh no, it's the Tokugawan army from Gunai. But I completely...
North Pacific.
Yeah, I completely abandoned the North Pacific because there's no way it's going to be useful to me here. Just trying to keep Balanga Ridge is a failed prospect anyway. I may as well back it out to somewhere more useful. So I attack both with 2, and it dislodges both and stops this from happening. So, although,
nice.
Yeah, it does dislodge both. Okay, because this convoy gets cut, and we get 1 support on each. It's a mess. It's a complete mess down here, but it means that I don't end up with an enemy army here, which is nice.
Fresh enemy army convoyed in, which would have been a huge pain.
Yep.
And yeah, you probably get Buenos Aires also, right?
Yeah, I'm basically losing this entire region in order to get...
but this is so good news for us, right? A messy front that has as wide and as many units possible is perfect. Have more units.
You say that. I was complaining in my confessional... I say confessional void. I've been playing too much Survivor. That I absolutely hate this war because of how messy it is. I'm so used to, like, nicer tactics.
Yeah, but we love this.
Probably why
we have. Look at all of the armies we have, right? Like, if it's a clean front, then their 6 units can maybe stall actually and stop us from crushing everything. But if all of our armies are taking centers left and right, then they're gonna lose.
Yeah. Yes, you're probably correct. I say probably. You are correct. Yeah.
That's how tactics work. You've played 1v1s, man. You know what it's like to be France against an Austria with a ton of units, and you're just praying they don't slip through the line.
Yeah.
You're saying, please, for the love of God, no raiding armies.
I just really hate this kind of messy warfare. I prefer a much neater, cleaner line.
Yeah, I mean, I prefer a cleaner line when my opponent can't do anything and I have enough units that I can crush them. I prefer that too, I agree. But if I have more units, I would prefer a messy war to a clean one because I can bring more forces to the front.
Yep. Alright, well, I think that's about everything for this phase. That has been quite a lot of discussion, but there was a lot going on here, right?
Yeah. I believe I remember you saying this would be a quick one.
I think a lot of the rest of it ends up being a lot quicker. Here we can move straight to moves, because there's not as much that we need to cover on negotiations. As you can see, Inuit does try and take the British convoy into Catawba.
The British say, ain't no way.
Yep, and the British betrayed them.
Pull back from Kansas.
Yeah, so this
Oh,
is
you lost Iowa. Huh?
Oh yeah, oh god, I forgot to talk about that. Actually, that is something we need to discuss on this. So the French had said they would accept my support and hold the line, right? They did not. They cut Illinois for Athapasca.
Brutal. Oh
And,
well, so then you lose Kansas, but you lose Iowa and Kansas, but do you hold it in Missouri?
yeah, I can't remember if I can get back to this point. Like, at this point, when France do this, I'm just like, I really hate the fact that Athapasca is just going to get all this, but if France isn't going to work with me, them having these centers doesn't benefit me at all, right? They're just going to keep attacking. So, and Athapasca was already going to me going, hey, can I have the French centers? I would really like the French centers. I'm like, yeah, okay, I'm just going to back everything off all the way back to this line. You can do whatever you like with the French. They are not under my protection anymore. And so you see that happen exactly here. And I also do this as kind of a fail-safe if this doesn't happen.
If the convoy did go through, it would have been particularly brutal, but you're back in Maryland, so yeah, like, you would have covered it. And then the line holds in Missouri. I assume you looked at that and it's fine? It doesn't look like it holds in Missouri.
I can't remember if this is an actual stalemate on this front.
It really doesn't look like it holds in Missouri.
I think it holds behind Missouri, like, at this point.
If you're in Catawba, I guess Catawba doesn't... We need Catawba to not be cut.
Yes.
And you probably have to be in, like, Norfolk and Tutelo and stuff. Whatever. Holding stalemates is expensive. Don't ever do it. Alright.
We can discuss the specifics when we get there. If I remember correctly, this is a guess. Is this a guess? Maybe it's not a guess. Yeah.
If something cuts Apache, right?
Because they have 1, 2, 3, 4 on Nueva Vizcaya, right? They have 2 on Mexico City. So I have to guess which they'll go for with Zacatecas. I get this one correct, which is nice. That is because I assumed that the Japanese wouldn't really want the Athapascans advancing hard on me. So would give them the center that would be easier for them to knock the Athapascans out of in the long run, right? And I don't know if that was the reasoning, but it worked out okay.
Can you just back up for a second? Let me double check this border here real quick.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Because I have 3 defense on Nueva Vizcaya, 4 attack, right? Potentially. And they do get... I say the Death Star into Guatemala Basin. They don't really have much of a Death Star right now, but they do get into Guatemala Basin because there's not much point trying to hold that when you've abandoned NPO. I didn't think there would be any real possibility of me being able to hold that, so I just didn't.
Yeah. I mean, you don't have the units right now, so that's fine. And South Pacific is more important than Guatemala because we're fighting a war over here.
Yeah.
Although I noticed you're not doing anything in messing with Australia. Which is something that I'm kind of surprised about.
Yes, so I'm playing very defensively here. I do actually manage to slip into Danny, which is nice.
Yeah, that's real. That's great.
I was not expecting that to go, but hey, I am absolutely not complaining that it did. I believe everything here is acting defensively, so to try and stop them getting to Chiloé in any way.
Yep.
So you can see I'm tapping SPO, I'm tapping that SPO, I'm also tapping this SPO, right? Just from everywhere to make sure no supports they had could possibly work. And I get a little lucky here in that I choose Guatemala Basin to be the one to tap SPO, because SPO2. If I'd chosen Galapagos, then this attack would have worked, which...
Yeah, they would have gotten in, and then you would have lost the center. It should have been said.
Yep. This is just a mess. Still, you can see I get into Escuncion and Buenos Aires and Sao Paulo. They take Chapaya, they take Choima, they advance on this front as well. They manage to get Taluchi, but I get into Islas Malvinas. And the Dutch come into Malos.
You're taking... Right, you gained 4 centers off of them, and they only gained 3 off of you?
Did I? Okay, they gained 1, 2, 3 here. Yeah, that sounds about right. So I guess it was a net win. I guess I get Bellum as well off of the Dutch. So
Yeah, if you consider that. But here's where you being back in G would have been a huge deal, right? If you'd bounced them out of Chiquitano last phase, then Portugal's attack would have been much less potent. They wouldn't be nearly as effective.
Yep.
So when you're in a messy war, you need your units to be efficient. That just remains true. But like even from here, right? Look at how bad Portugal's position is starting to look here. Right? Like, yeah, they're making progress and they're getting up there, but you're behind them now, and they can't hold Cordoba anymore. They're gonna lose whatever. I'm not even Gangway.
Gangway. I don't know how you.
That one I think is Portuguese, not Spanish. I think.
Yeah.
Anyways, so that's like their position is not going to last, and your armies are marching down. And like Goiás, are they going to cover it or not? They're just going to concede it. Okay, how about Chiquitano? Are they going to concede that as well? Like, Portugal is committed so hard to this Western Front to fight over the Aymara centers that they're going to get surrounded and just cooked. It's done. So, yeah.
Yep.
This is why I was trying to get us to attack Portugal for ages. But I'm glad we came around to it. And this is glorious.
It is suddenly looking quite good here. Just going back into the Caribbean again this turn, I was actually quite tempted to just walk into Jamaica. I think it would have been a horrible idea on my part.
Well, yeah, but it's tempting, right? It's a dot.
At this point, it was less because it was a dot, and just because after the last turn, my confidence in England had been shaken so much that I was like, I think I might need to do something about him in case he flips again. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
And I can go into Barbados at the same time and cripple him a little bit, right?
Yeah, but now you can retreat into Barbados, and now you have a perfectly valid excuse, because you got forced out of Guiana Current.
Yeah, but that's not what he would have wanted me to do in that scenario, and again, I did give him control over
that
these
your
units.
fleets are his. Yeah. Fine.
So...
But also, at this one, we can bring Orinoco north, and so we might have the units to just take care of England. Are we building? Probably not, but worth asking.
I think
we're net +1 in South America.
We end up going down 3 total.
-3.
But because we had 1 wave and 2 pops, we end up with net 0 on this turn.
Yeah.
Which is a lot...
Yeah, we also lost that away.
It's a lot better than I thought it would be, given this, right?
Yeah. Lisbon, we lose Lisbon here? Yeah, we lose Lisbon here.
I think I guessed correctly.
You support Lisbon now?
I support Lisbon out.
Strait of Gibraltar supports Lisbon out.
And they support in. And I cut Merida.
Yeah.
This was a 50-50. The tactics of it are a bit complex, so I'm not going to bother talking through it. But...
It's not that complicated. But yeah, it's a 50-50, you guessed right. And you got Rabat too. And Rabat got popped? No, Canary Basin.
No, okay. Yeah, you can go here. But I am slowly being able to mobilize out in this direction as well. You can see my fleet in Rif has managed to make it to Tangier. I've got Strait of Gibraltar out, of course. Fleet
and
here.
And Portugal's minus a lot this phase, right?
Yeah.
They lost so many centers.
This is it. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I need to talk about, particularly this phase, but I don't think there really is. Because everything else is just a continuation of the various wars that are already ongoing for me. Right?
Yeah, the bounce in South, not the South Atlantic, but the Southern Sea is a big one.
Oh, yes. I was aware that Portugal had these units, of course. I was like, okay, that is going to be a vital province in this fight. So I need to make sure this doesn't get in. And I didn't need the support on Malvinas, so I was like, okay.
Yeah. Dude, it's really funny. If you're in South Pacific Ocean and you want to get into the Southern Sea, there are 2 ways to do it equally fast. One is to go to Mar de Joses, and then the other one is to go to the other way, to go through Australia.
Antarctic Basin, yeah. They're equally distant. That's pretty funny.
Yes. Yeah, I was trying to make that move happen the entire game, but I never got around to it, and I was very sad.
Alright, yeah, well, I think that fairly accurately covers everything that was going on with me. Of course, Poland did keep to their word here, which is huge for me. And I back everything off their border, which is what I promised them I would do, right? Not actually successfully here, but successfully enough that they're comfortable about it.
Yeah, and you're making moves to get out there, and it's very clear that you're not... Like, you did move out of into Milan, which is a big one, and that move was guaranteed. Right. If you had tried to move whatever that army is in Share, I want to say, that one. If you moved that west into Bern, then Poland probably would have raised their eyes at you, but rolled their eyes at you, raised their eyebrows, whatever. But here, by moving it south, you made it clear, like, hey, you actually wanted to make some progress. That's not just going to get bounced.
Yes.
And Poland didn't support Netherlands into Dijon, which I assume was part of their deal. So, sweet.
Yep. And then if we go forward...
Yeah, that's a move. Oh, man. Yeah, I would have been very tempted to just keep doing that. Okay, so Portugal's in 27. Did Portugal net up or down?
So Portugal go -3
Yeah.
total.
Oh, and Spain is building. +1. Okay, you had more population space than we thought.
Okay.
Yeah,
nice.
it's not... It was -3 still, but you had more pops than we thought, I think.
Real quick, is there a motorbike or something happening outside your window? Or...
probably.
Okay.
There were, but there were, I heard noises around here, yeah.
Yeah, it's fine. Alright, I should just make a quick note of that time.
You're editing it out? It's not the new Diplostrat siren?
Yeah, we get Diplostrat sirens on your end now.
Yeah, very rarely.
Alright, so...
Right, one build.
One build.
That's exciting. Where does it go?
That's a really good question that I don't remember.
Can't put anything down in St. Augustine, because that's covered. That's unfortunate. We don't actually need any more armies. Probably Fleet Quito.
I think that's probably where it ends up going. I'm gonna go ahead and have a look. Yep. Fleet Quito, you are absolutely correct. Just because there's so much going on here. I think it's not that much of an issue to me that I've lost all of these spaces, right, against these players. As long as they don't get a convoy in properly. I think I could have retreated Yucatan into somewhere more useful here. Colon Ridge feels like it might be better, but I was very concerned about the possibility of a convoy coming in via Guatemala Basin.
Yeah, from home, for example, where there's an army sitting there. And I assume Tokugawa has other armies flying around. Yeah, no, I mean, it's reasonable. Yucatan's fine, and, like, you need to keep everything occupied, so...
And you
Hashtag stalemates are expensive.
I go into Barbuda as well, not Barbados, again because I'm working with England here. I'm also being very careful not to upset England with anything that I'm doing at this point. Double check everything in the region because of what was going on. Or what had happened before.
You want them to stay friendly. And Athapasca and Tokugawa both grew some more, so their percentage is probably very high, right?
Yeah. I mean, they're at 85. Tokugawa's at 82. They have a lot of potential gains still, of course. At this point, I'm making a plea to Tokugawa going, look, Athapasca could make a run for the solo here. I don't know whether they're going to, but they have the dots in radius because I'm having to let them take France, the French dots. That they could make a run for it. Please just make sure you defend this kind of stuff, right? I mean, this isn't
Hawaii,
even possible to defend.
Stars back, so I'm not too worried about Hawaii. But the rest of it, yeah.
Yes. I don't know if they'll immediately do it. I guess we'll see as we go along. But yeah, So this is the situation at the end of 1652. Again, myself, Tokugawa, and Athapasca are all negotiating kind of in a room between the three of us, just because we feel like we...
Athapasca's obviously not negotiating in good faith.
Yeah.
So there's nothing that can happen.
Exactly. It's like we had that triple chat where we were talking through and going, okay, obviously this game is going to end with a three-way between the three of us, right? And then all three of us were also negotiating individually with the other ones.
Yeah, which is how you know that it's not real at all.
Yeah.
Now with it's really tough now because Safavid and Poland are also coming up.
Yep.
And so for you guys to get a three-way now, you also need to stop those other powers from getting close.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's not just a matter of getting Athapasca and Tokugawa the extra 4 and 5 centers they need in a single year, respectively. You need to either organize how to get them more centers or figure out how to get Safavid to lose centers. And given that you have absolutely zero influence over Safavid, that seems kind of impossible.
Yeah, but I think it was kind of interesting because at this point we were sort of debating, do we try and get all three of us 25% ahead of Safavid, or do we just invite them in? And this was a conversation in the fall turn of the previous phase as well. And on that phase, we were like, okay, I think we can try and get all three of us over 25% ahead of them, right?
And then the next phase came by, and you're like, uh-oh, never mind, that's not happening.
You're like, that's not happening. So at this point, I start talking seriously with Safavids, I think for the first time in the entire game, really.
Yeah.
Because we're like, okay, we're probably going to end this game in a joint win. Because at this point, too, I'm still looking at my position going, okay, I can consolidate this, right? But me winning alone just isn't a possibility anymore. Not with Athapasca this big.
It's all of South America. Right.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Like, even if I take all of South America, because those dots are worth less to me, right? And I need to get 25% ahead of Athapasca, I just...
Movino can get, and Athapasca can get a ton of centers, right? We're sitting here where that Athapasca can solo.
Yep.
They can get above 100% easily. And you've got most of South America already. You're only missing, 12 dots or something.
Yeah. So I just didn't see it as a possibility. I was very much... It was weird as well, because obviously I'm still holding the line against Athapasca here, and in conversation I was still being a bit... Like, I was saying, okay, I'm gonna back off France and let you do whatever you want to them, because they've made it clear that they're not going to hold the line at this point. But in the previous year, I was like, I'm not going to back off and let you do whatever you want to France because I see you as a solo threat. I'm not going to cooperate with you. I think I said outright, if this game is going to end, we're both going to be in the win, but that doesn't mean that we have to trust each other on the way there, right? It's clear you don't trust me because of what you're trying to do. It's pretty clear that I don't trust you either. So...
You can say that Athapasca doesn't trust you. I think it's the case that Athapasca thinks they can exploit you.
Yeah. I don't know if they think they can exploit me so much as they're just trying it because it makes sense to, right?
They got Iowa, right? You can't, exploit as in, they can take centers from you, right?
Absolutely.
They can fight, and you've been, right, there's nothing to be done for it, and so they can get stuff from you.
Yeah.
And you can't stop that.
Mm-hmm.
So, they're going to attack you, and you're going to do your best to hold on.
Yep. Pretty much exactly. We knew we were at war with each other. We were constantly talking about, we should be working together towards a joint conclusion.
There's nothing to be done. But you can't demilitarize North America at this point. You have too many armies that are all locked in too far from any potential convoys out. And you guys have not been positioned for this even a little bit for a long time now. So, the game's going to end before you can get, Arapaho convoyed away. Yeah. So, it's fine. You got a bunch of units. You have more armies. You have more dots than you need, right? So, it's great to have a place to put them all.
Yep. Alright, so, let's move ahead to the next phase here. We have, I'll just have a look over here. Obviously, I'm just annoying Portugal with what I'm doing over here. I had been talking to Netherlands a bit, and they were like, I'm not gonna ease up on you in South America or anything like that. But, given everything that's happening over here, because I think he was aware that Poland had backed off on... had clearly been talked through some stuff with me. He was, trying to get on my good side a little bit, just with working with me over here in places that it doesn't really matter that much if...
And that's huge upside, to not saying, hey, we're at war, there's no reason for us to talk anymore, as opposed to, we're at war over here and we're gonna fight, but, let's keep talking, because if you've been talking to Portugal, maybe you don't support Netherlands here. Maybe, probably not. Probably you still support Netherlands, but like Netherlands talks to you and you help them out.
Yep. And
Well, you're gonna take Paris.
Yeah, I'm definitely still positioning to attack them here. Like,
Just because you guys are talking, coordinating in some place, right?
Mm-hmm.
Who's really that annoying arrow? France. They moved back to Paris. Alright, fine. That's acceptable. Fine.
Yeah, I think France are well aware that they have signed their own death warrant with what they've done here. You can see I did still annoy Athapasca for the spring turn by supporting France to hold here instead of supporting Athapasca in, which I was supposed to.
Yeah.
I was just like, okay, I'll support you in the fall, but I told them that after
and he
they'd
didn't
already
bounce
done it.
Illinois? Oh, man.
At this point, I think I was like, I'm just gonna hold the line that I know I can hold, which is here, right? I'm not even gonna try and stop them taking the French dots, because
I guess.
I was also really infuriated with France that they cut.
Fair, but you're so pissed at France that you're still supporting them to stay alive.
Well, yeah, this is not because I want them to survive. This is because I want to annoy Athapasca a little bit.
Exactly. Yeah, I love it. Anyways, I'm very glad.
But, like, most importantly, I don't want Athapasca to be done with France on the spring phase, or, like, near done, because then they can try and use those units in the south, right? The units that they would otherwise be using to mop up France in the fall. Yeah. So...
Anyways, this is fine. And look, this is the start of demilitarization, okay? Kansa is now empty.
Yes,
right?
That is nice.
It's a good start. Look at that. Man, if you walked into Kansa, could you have made something happen?
Maybe I didn't know that this was going to be empty. I kind of assumed they were going to be mobilizing to the front line, but
of course, whatever, it's fine.
Yeah, you can see Tokugawa did, I think, accept. Yeah, this was the turn where they decided that I was telling the truth and to defend themselves a bit. They refused to put a fleet in Alutes because apparently that would trigger war between them and Athapasca or something. But they convoy their army there, which is
it's fine.
Nice. And you can see they're forcing Athapasca to walk back with their units, so that Tokugawa takes the front, which that's still not great for me, right? That means they're in less of an entangled position, and so Tokugawa is free to just attack me. But at the same time, I've got the units to defend it anyway. I think I prefer Tokugawa having a more secure front, and I'm hoping that they can take Viscano Bay so that Athapasca don't have free access to Aquala anymore.
And nice, they might actually be able to take Yakutsk if they want it. The place in Los Angeles, I think, because Miwok got convoyed out.
Yes, you are correct.
Maybe it didn't get convoyed out.
Actually, where did that fleet go? Oh, they're going against Russia. I remember this. Athapasca and Tokugawa as part of the triple thing. Athapasca was going to start sending armies into Northern Asia, which I was just like, I do not like that idea at all.
It's a way to make Athapasca other people's problems.
Yeah, but it's also like they're gaining even more. I don't like the fact that they're gaining more. But hey, it is what it is. It wasn't something I could particularly impact.
Do anything about, right? Yeah.
I'm just like, okay, Toku, if you're gonna work with Athapasca, sure, whatever, do it, but make sure you don't leave your stuff unguarded.
Alright, it's an Athapascan fleet in Viscano Bay.
Yes, it is now.
Sorry, no capturing of any centers. Okay.
But my hope was that Tokugawa would take Viscano Bay after this. I guess we'll see how that goes. You can see I'm still terrified of the convoy in. I'm just self-bouncing here.
And you covered Panama, and you got Tokugawa to now support Portugal into Colon Ridge, which is wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
Very happy. Caribbean Seas back to Barbados, because Netherlands got into Guiana Current, and you didn't have the retreat anymore.
Yep.
Barbuda did a dumb move. Where did it go?
Oh, yeah, this was deliberate.
It was supposed to go to Guiana Current, I assume.
It was supposed to go to Guiana Current. I ordered it to Guanabara Bay because I didn't want it to. Like, at this point, I'm still... You can see that what I'm doing with my fleets here is I'm getting into position to stab England for 3, right? Bahamas, Jamaica, and Puerto Rico all at the same time. And England is having to push this unit back out of Caribbean Sea to take Guiana Current. The last turn, I decided not to stab England because I felt that taking... I felt that I can trust them enough, right? But I was still uneasy about the fact that they had declared themselves to be a pirate in that one turn, and that I couldn't fully trust them anymore. I just felt that taking 2 centers off them while they were still in Caribbean Sea maybe wasn't the way to go about the stab. I felt that they could do too much damage to me still. Now they can't do that damage to me, right? They've moved this back out. They've pushed forward with all of this. These 2 fleets are up here. And I'm remaining in position to take 1, 2, 3 off them on this turn.
Just a reminder, the way to get Meme to be a good ally is to potentially kill him if he's not.
Yeah. We'll have a look at how that goes on the next turn. I'm still... the Dutch had promised they wouldn't interfere with me with this fleet anymore, which...
And they didn't.
Yeah, they just interfere with England instead, which makes things a little bit easier on the defensive front over here. Not completely easy, but I can kick this out of Kalina if it comes in.
I think you getting Carib disbanded was really good diplomatically because it helped Netherlands feel like they didn't have anything more to play for in South America. Whereas if they still had that army, they might still try to use it.
Yeah.
So I think that's really clean.
I definitely agree. I'd love to say that was the intent of it, but I really just hated the army being behind my lines. So it was a side effect that became very, very useful after the fact. Yeah, and this war down here is just a complete and utter mess. You can see Portugal walks in here. Netherlands did explicitly say to me they would still be against me in this region. Oh, no, wait, was this the turn? No, it wasn't.
Right? They're trying to take something from Portugal.
Sorry, yeah, Netherlands said they were going to set up against Silas Malvinas. They'd agreed to do that, but were happy to pivot into Tel Huchi on the full turn. I was like, yeah, absolutely, go ahead and do that. So they're setting up with Portugal's agreement here to attack here, but they're actually going to go for Tel Huchi, at least as far as they've told me.
Sure. You're in position for Rio.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean...
Really quite nice.
Yeah, I mean... I don't know how I feel about the tactics, but it's... Look, it's a big war, there's a lot going on, you're gonna win because you've got more units. Eventually. Although, tactically, this...
You just don't like what I'm doing tactically, or...
Yes, I am not a fan of the tactics of this particular position, but I guess it's fine.
I absolutely hate it as well.
The position wasn't great, but you getting Guaqui popped, right?
Where even is Guaqui? I can't. Oh yeah,
it's the one that's adjacent to Trima, Kuala, and Chapaya.
Yeah, you can. I think I basically sacrifice it to make sure that I get through. No, that doesn't even guarantee pay. No, I don't know what I was doing with this.
Yeah, like I said, I'm not a huge fan of tactics over here, but it's fine.
Mm-hmm.
I think actually moves that they input guaranteed that they were going to pop Guaqui, unfortunately.
Maybe I was just being visionary and envisioning that happening anyway. It's actually possible I was, because I did
so you knew that he was going to go for the pop, and so then he could use stuff, but I still feel like, I don't know, I this as much as you had. I would have probably tried to recapture Cordoba. Mm-hmm. From like Buenos Aires, I think would have been my instinct, because that puts pressure on Calama as well. We get into Santiago, Ragavine Basin, and then we can deal with Borora or Cangue, whatever it is later. Like, I think Cangue is a really irrelevant province, so I don't want to capture it at all. I want to push units northwards-ish, so I can start putting the Vice on. And I can clean up here later.
Mm-hmm.
But whatever, it's a center, it's fine.
I think I was thinking they would send Chiquitano down to Barora, and then by doing this, I'd have the support hold on... Wait, no. I don't even remember. I feel
Yeah, it's
like
fine.
I thought
Tactics. There's a lot of tactics.
I feel like I thought they were going to commit a lot more to this front, like to getting this stuff back than they actually did.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, they're just coordinating, pushing the units forward, right? They have a bunch of units over there. Whatever. Again, it doesn't matter. Like, if we do it the unit count right, and we just double check how many units you have in the area, you have so many more than Portugal does. Eventually, Portugal is going to collapse.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, you just get to walk into St. Louis, right? And so your armies are going to continue sliding down this coast, and it's not going to get any better.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Completely agree.
Well, sorry, not going to get any better for Portugal. It's going to get better for you.
Yeah, Portugal is really feeling rough here, especially also Poland go for them in Canaries, right? And is moving
and maybe
up
Azores. Yeah.
I'm just kind of sitting back and coring provinces here because I don't want to annoy anyone again, and then putting way too many units on forcing Ionian Sea because again I don't want to annoy Abyssinia by doing anything there.
And he took from Tyrrhenian, which is a little interesting.
Mm-hmm. I think I guess it's fine.
Yeah.
I think I was still concerned about the possibility of them coming back on this front, right? Which
that's reasonable. I don't know. I'm like I still like Tyrrhenian, and if you're ever gonna convoy stuff back into Tuscany or Rome, you're gonna want to have stuff in Tyrrhenian.
Mm-hmm.
But whatever, it's fine. Like, this position seems good. We're back in solid, and like we've held the line. We didn't take Paris even, but we're positioning ourselves to do so. Portugal's about to get fully cleaned up out of Iberia, and then
and Poland is backing off with everything except the 4 on the front line, right?
They know that they need to hold, and you're demilitarizing the line as well, and there's no more real centers than to take, so peaceful border, peaceful growth.
They're going for Ottomans.
Oh my god. Yeah, that's nice. Oh my god, are you gonna get Constantinople this game? You're gonna be in Sarajevo. You're in Athens, Ione, you're gonna take Levantine and Aegean. Hell yes. Recreate the Roman Empire, let's go.
And of course, I think I already mentioned down here, Netherlands is just being annoying to Portugal, which is, in fact, I don't, actually, now looking at it, I think this was all arranged with Portugal? Was that? What am I even supporting here? I think I initially must have had this being
supporting yourself in the Coral Sea, and then you changed it, but and then it's fine.
I don't remember what's going on here.
You clearly stopped caring about most of your units at this point, because you're coring with half of them.
Well,
that's when you're like, none of my units matter anymore.
Yeah, because I never core, right? I think I'll stop coring with these on the next turn anyway.
Yeah, you don't want to piss off Mali or Abyssinia.
Yeah, and also they are back in Sahara Desert, so I actually do need to support hold this.
I guess. Sure.
Yeah. All right. So if we go forward to the next turn here, and the moves on that next turn, I do finish a core.
Yeah, nice one.
That's my second core all game after Chiloe. But yeah.
I forgot that you cored down there.
Yes, I did core down there. I've never been able to build there because every time
you covered it again.
It's been covered. So.
Yeah, unfortunate. Alright, so here Netherlands tries to get both Isla, and then you successfully bounce in Isla. That's great. And then let's double check tactics.
Like, this is just madness. I hate this war so much, right? You can see, I like nice, neat wars where one side is making gains and the other side is losing stuff.
No, like nice, neat wars where you're making gains and they're losing stuff.
Okay, yes, but when I'm making gains anyway, I like it to be nice and neat, and I'm not losing stuff while also gaining stuff. You can see here, there is a Portuguese unit sitting in my center. There is another Portuguese unit sitting in my center. There is a Portuguese unit sitting in my center. I am going -3 here, but it's alright, because I'm gaining this one, and I'm gaining this one, and I'm walking in here. There's so many centers swapping hands, and you would never see this in like a normal diplomacy game, because in order for this to happen, both of the armies need to have gone past each other.
Need to have way too many armies that have slipped.
Yeah.
But again, you say that you don't like wars like this, and I mean, that's reasonable, but also, you're making progress everywhere, right? You forced your way into Chiquitano, and you're bouncing him out of Goiás, you're getting into St. Louis, and now Mauristad is, was there a convoy into Mauristad?
I think I... Yeah, okay, so this is part of a wider thing. We'll talk about that afterwards.
Right? Like, yeah, it's not it like sure, it's not the nicest thing, but you're making progress everywhere, and Portugal is not gonna be able to hold. Although the convoy to Marslav would be a big deal.
Okay, this is not my unit getting convoyed into
Yeah,
Morristown.
yeah, I know exactly. It looks like it's an Inuit convoy,
It is an Inuit
right?
convoy, indeed.
Yeah, I assume that's working against you.
No, it's working with me. You can see I'm the one
Oh,
supporting it in. At this point, Inuit are still... Like, their desire is to see the world, and they've made that quite clear to people.
sure.
So they were
Yeah.
like, hey, anyone wants any mercenaries anywhere, I'm happy to provide. I was like, yeah, I'll take one. Just help me kill Portugal quicker. I'll be very happy with that, because I can kick the Inuits out of here anyway later, right? I've got a decent line. And
Sure.
I say I don't like the mess that is this war. Of course, I really don't like it, but I am starting to make it a neater war just by advancing this line slowly while all of this mess is happening. It's like, I don't know, the wall is slowly closing in on them, right, while everyone is fighting here.
You just got more troops, and reinforcements are on their way. The cavalry's coming, and the cavalry is in the form of 5 more armies marching south.
Yep.
Or east.
Exactly.
I mean, Tariq and Bellam aren't exactly coming south, but like, no, you lost.
I think I actually
Cayenne.
lose Cayenne in this case, right? But I couldn't have kept it from the position that I was in. Yeah. So it's still a mess, but it's a good mess for me, all things considered. There is a lot of other stuff going on here that we need to talk about. We can start with, I guess I already mentioned the Inuit convoy, them working with me. This wasn't necessarily with the permission of Athapasca, but I think Athapasca would have been quite happy with it anyway, because it gets more Inuit units away from Inuit territory, which...
Makes it easier for Athapasca to capture whenever.
Yeah, I was hoping that this build would then go back here and therefore make Athapasca it a little bit harder for Athapasca to like just run in and take everything. But you know, Athapasca are expanding rather quickly here and getting into positions that they can collapse in on Inuit even faster than before. That is really making me nervous.
Yep.
But I still support them into Philadelphia, because I was just like, screw you, France, and they get into Seneca and kill the last unit in Erie as well. So France is officially
France
dead
is
after this
completely
time.
wiped out.
Yep.
Yeah.
So England got their wish of outliving France as well.
Yeah. See, if you get to be Meme's vassal, you can accomplish some very minor objectives sometimes.
Okay, speaking of that, England, I decide not to go for the stab on them. I did.
Sure.
I seriously considered it. I was going, okay,
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty nuts.
yep, 1, 2, 3, and deal with England and just not have England be a threat. I mean, I would still need to mop up the rest, right? But if I'm building Fleet Panama, Fleet St. Augustine, and I have 3 fleets here, and England just has Barbados and Sargasso, I think that's an easy win on my part, right?
Yeah, eventually. Plus, you pulled your army out. I like getting an extra army in Caracas helps things a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Just Caracas walk out to New Orleans. You have enough units, you'll be fine.
Yeah. But I decide against it because we have quite a long conversation, me and England, this turn. It's just like weighing up in my mind. England still has a lot of units, right? They have, they do get some disbanded here, actually. But they have the ones on this front, they have the fleet here, they have... It could well be the difference. If Athapasca is expanding this fast, having England being my friend versus being incredibly betrayed by me could be the difference maker between Athapasca being able to get over that 25% line at some point and them not being able to do that, right?
Yeah. That's tough.
Yeah, it's a really tough decision to make, and here I could absolutely have seen myself going the other way as well, and just going, England is someone that I might not be able to rely on because of what they said before. so I need to cripple them, and it gets me a bunch of centers at the same time. That just seems
The
worth
only
it.
person you can trust fully is you in a
Yeah.
game of diplomacy. That's just everyone else will have their interests might change, their desires might be different at some point. The only one you can really trust to always be trying to help you solo is you.
Yep, that's a good way to say it. But here I do decide to trust England, and I decide to just keep working with them. And yeah, the major reason is that I think if they are angry with me, it's going to make it more likely for Athapasca to win the game in the long run.
Sure. They can still throw to you. They've already thrown to you once. Maybe they'll do it again.
Yeah, it is possible.
I
That wasn't
dislike you
really on my
supporting-
mind at this point, because I'm like, I really don't think I'm ever going to get 25% ahead of Athapasca, especially now.
Like,
Well,
why are you the one getting into Gulfstream? Why don't you support England there instead?
This one? Because England wanted
Yeah.
me to, right? This was part of the
Yeah,
agreement
and
with
part of
England.
your thing is that the minor power gets to control your units.
Yeah, exactly.
Ah,
And also, I mean, it makes sense for them to keep Sargasso Sea, right? Because there's threats around it. But,
yeah.
yeah, if I was properly vassalizing them, then yeah, this would probably be the other way around. But I'm not. I'm very much vassalized to them in this region.
Yeah. Oh well.
Right.
As long as they don't stab you again, it should be fine.
Yep. We can see over here, Netherlands are dropping their army into Nantes just to try and defend it. They do manage to get back all of the centres that England take from them, which is annoying, but England do manage to grab something up here. And Poland actually even walks out of Strasbourg to attack the Netherlands now in this area, although I don't know whether it goes. No, it doesn't go, but they try to, which is, like, it's definitely showing a good amount of trust. Yeah. And
Yeah.
I win another 50-50 here. If I'd have supported Galicia down, then this would have defended against it. Basically, all of the luck, the bad luck that I had on the turn that I failed to solo, I've been slowly getting back against Portugal with my guesswork in this area. I've been getting back in forms of good luck. Sorry, I realise I've said that really weirdly, but yeah.
You're crushing. It's great. Portugal, like, again, by telling someone you're all in on war with them, like, I don't know. I find it. I noticed that after Portugal has said this, every turn has gone progressively worse and worse for Portugal as you have progressively gotten more people to mess with Portugal.
I also think they would have been a natural enemy for me regardless, right? So I don't know that them saying anything else would have really helped them.
I felt like they were a natural enemy for you for years.
Yeah, that's fair enough, I suppose. It could have gone other directions. They actually managed to keep Azores here because they tapped my unit, which is obviously going to be the one supporting someone in. And Poland didn't explicitly ask to be supported in on this turn, so Inuit did, so I ended up trying to support them in, to get on their good side and try and get them defending this area. But yeah, they both bounce with each other and Portugal retains a centre there, but they are going pretty heavily negative just elsewhere. You can see Congo also has stabbed them in the south of Africa, so yeah, really bad situation for Portugal here. And I just do a core, because I don't care what's going on in this region. Right. Yeah. One more really important thing that happens here. You can see SPO4 is supporting Guatemala Basin into Galapagos. So at this point, I have come to terms with, like, well, I've come to negotiation terms with Tokugawa. I'm going to try and get you across the line in some way. As part of these negotiations, I was saying, yeah, I can get you Galapagos, and we can potentially get you convoyed into Chiloé if we absolutely need to swap centers here to get everyone to 100%. My main purpose with this was just making them comfortable with the idea that Athapasca didn't need to be their number one ally, right? That I was someone that Athapasca would be the bigger threat in the long term, so they needed to work primarily with me. Because I genuinely saw that as the likely, the most likely possibility for the end game. Like, I would probably need Tokugawa's assistance to contain this threat, and make sure that we all win a joint win. They are growing pretty substantially elsewhere as well. So, yeah, I don't know if there's anything else you want to discuss here.
No, it seems pretty straightforward. It's like we're trying to stay big and stay as strong as we can, and then let the other people win, right?
Yeah.
Like, however many other people win are gonna win. We're gonna crush Portugal and be big in South America, and we're not losing much, right? Like, we didn't lose anything else in Europe. We have a deal with Poland. Hopefully, they can get up there. And so it's just, we have stable borders now. We're making progress. Sweet.
Yeah. And if we go to the next turn, you can see Tokugawa is only 1 center off getting there. Athapasca is 1 center off getting there. At this point, it's debating whether we want to include or exclude Safavid and Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth.
You guys can't stop them, right?
Yeah, we can't stop Safavid, so at this point we go, okay, let's all agree we'll try and get Safavid over the line at the same time. I can stop Poland, right? I can try and come in and prevent them, because they are, percentage-wise, still some distance behind us. They're not even at the 25% mark.
Yeah, they do need 10 more centers, but, like, border with them isn't great. Anyways, it's fine. There's a chance.
But yeah, the general idea at this point is we're gonna gun for a 4-player victory. We're gonna gun for Safavid, Tokugawa, Athapasca, Spain. Something happens in the spring phase that massively changes this for me.
Okay.
And it's based on the moves that happened the turn previously, right? So if you look at the Portuguese position at this point, Portugal is being attacked by Congo in South America. Not South America, South Africa. They are also being attacked by Ajuran, although Ajuran is prioritizing defending themselves up here over just taking 1 dot down here.
Sure, yeah.
They are being knocked out entirely from Spain, from Iberia. They have been betrayed by the Netherlands down here. They lost Teluci. The Netherlands was supposed to go with 2 into Ilhas Malvinas, and the Netherlands even took their support to gain a centre here while stabbing them in the south. Inuit are attacking them. They are coming in from Naskapi into Moritzstad. Tokugawa are attacking them with my support, coming into Galapagos. And, of course, over here, they're... Well, I don't... Oh, Tokugawa do go for Wagaman at the same time, which Portugal hedged against by tapping Gunai.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it looks like there was probably supposed to be support in the Danny with Solomon Islands or something.
Yeah, I think that was probably the case, right?
And Portugal took Timor. Good for them.
So, at this point, Portugal is looking at the board. They're also looking at the fact that Athapasca demilitarized this area, right? They haven't got... and went after France. They haven't got everything fully on this front against me anymore. They're looking at... Wait, hang on. How did the coalition go from everyone fighting Spain to me fighting Spain and being attacked by everyone at the same time, right?
Yeah.
Which is kind of the natural conclusion of coalitions in Imperial diplomacy, because as soon as the threat is gone, everyone goes back to going for their things that are in their own interests, right?
Yep.
And in this case, I became a non-threat because these other people are so close to me on points, and in fact here, like, they basically caught me up. No one sees me soloing as a threat. In fact, Athapasca is the big solo threat now, so they're perfectly happy to just let me run down Portugal in this area and even profit off of it themselves. And so Portugal just being completely sick of this, the fact that everyone has attacked them at the same time and no one is fighting me anymore, comes to me and says, you know, can we just make you win this game to punish everyone else for not fighting you anymore? Yeah.
And the Portugal's -5.
Yeah, it's kind of fair, right? They're -5, and it's not just because of me. It's primarily because of random other people going for them in
All
all
of these
these
other dots they
regions.
connect everywhere else across the board. Yep.
Yeah, and so I, of course, go, well, yeah, absolutely, I'm very happy to do that.
Yeah.
In fact, I think I handled these negotiations wrong, because at first I was approaching it and saying,
Skeptical.
I think actually there's one thing that's burned into my memory as me having said, which was my first reaction saying, I really don't blame you for saying that you needed to attack me, and stay at war with me and whatnot. I'm happy to look past that. He's like, this is nothing to do with that. This is not me wanting to help you. It's the fact that everyone else is just not letting me fight you. And so they need to... like,
Yeah.
I was like, at that point, I was
Oop.
deathly afraid of typing anything that would stop
Yeah.
him from being on this rampage.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's when you got to throw fuel on the fire and say, "Fuck him, yeah, dude." These people laughed at you behind your back.
Mm-hmm.
This person was like, "Yeah, dude, I'd love to see Portugal just heading him." Obviously, they would not have to said anything like that. But I mean, look, if they just say, "Hey, look, pop all your armies in Portugal, in South America," and it'll be over pretty quickly.
Yeah, and I think even so, the Portuguese player was Bumble, right? And Bumble is just a really nice person, all things considered. It's not like he doesn't come across as someone who would want revenge, and I think even in this case, you could hear in what he was typing that he wasn't very comfortable doing this, but felt that it was like he'd been put in a completely impossible situation, right? He's dying either way. He has to decide, are these other people going to profit off my death or not? And
Make only one person profit. There's the person who's been honest with you. Hey, we're at war. Yeah, I guess we're at war.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Exactly, and even through the rest of this year, it was kind of becoming clear to me that he wasn't entirely comfortable with what he was doing, but
Yeah.
he'd committed to that path, and he decided, I've committed, I'm gonna stick to it now.
Yeah, as long as he pops all of his armies, right? We're good.
And it's not even an army pop if you look in the fall. And also, before I go to this, actually,
Oh, I thought it was -5.
he pops. This is after he pops his units. No, it's
Okay.
before he pops his units. He
Sure.
wants to just pop all these units in South America.
But you think that would be too obvious and people would catch on really quickly?
Yes, that's exactly what I think. And I'm worried that if he does this, Athapasca is going
Then
to try and blitz these
Athapasca.
provinces. Yeah.
Yeah, what she can get. So
Um.
okay,
So-
yeah, if he just doesn't defend, I mean, but that's where it's tough because now if he gets cold feet, he can actually defend against you.
But that's
Right.
that's why it's important to trust someone, right? It's
But you, oh god.
But yeah, I asked him to disband elsewhere. He actually doesn't really want to. He was very insistent. I would
Yeah.
like to disband here and just make a show of the fact that I'm doing this to people. And I was thinking as well, if he does make a show of the fact that he's doing this to other people, then other people are going to try and talk him out of it as well, which they won't
Yeah.
do if he doesn't make it obvious until the spring phase. So he does eventually agree to disband these units here and this unit and like this unit and I think one over here. Yeah, and we managed to get on the same page about all of this. Despite him
Sure.
being slightly uncomfortable about it, right?
Yeah, I mean, if someone's serious about throwing to you, they're serious about throwing to you.
Yes.
Uh.
Um.
And I mean, he's seen other people do it this game, right? So
Mhm. And
yeah, totally fine.
at this point, I go back to England and I say, "Hey, Portugal is offering me this. You said before that if I get into a position where I can win the game by taking stuff off you, you would be okay with that. Is this a position where you would be okay with that?" And England says, if Portugal confirms that to me, I will get on board with it as well. And I think,
Portugal confirmed that.
yep, Portugal did confirm that. We end up making a group chat and talking through all of our options. Basically, the entire rest of the game, myself, England, and Portugal were all coordinating what we were doing together. And England like, I think the fact that I didn't stab England on that last turn ended up being quite important, because even though I could have gone
so
plus
they're gonna
3
give you
there,
everything.
yeah, it would have really annoyed them, and they wouldn't have accepted this. So, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, how many centers are you at? You're at 64.
I am at 64.
Okay.
Yes. Portugal still at 20, even being -5. So they have a lot of centers and a lot of power, and I think a surprisingly large amount of power. Like, people look at the Portugal here and go, "Oh, that Portugal is really weak," but people don't realize quite how reliant they are on the fact that Portugal is using, what, 6 or 7 units to fight me in this region. In fact, 9 units to fight me in this region, right?
10?
Is it 10? I might...
Yeah.
Oh, I guess they have 2 over here as well, yeah.
Well, I would kind of do America. I wasn't even counting South Pacific Ocean, but 4 plus 4 plus 2, yeah, there's 10 units down there.
Yep.
And then plus 2 in South Pacific, it's like, that's a lot of units. It's a lot of firepower. I mean, regional miners start the game with 4 centers, right? Like, a big regional miner has 10. And it's like, yeah, if there was a Mapuche in this game with 10 centers, people would be like, yeah, they're strong. But it's just because Portugal needs to get to so many that they're not viewed as a threat. And, like, they lost their home, right? They don't have anything in Iberia anymore. And so that's why they're like, oh, Portugal isn't a real factor in this game. I made the same mistake with Portugal in my game. Clear. I thought they were far less relevant through South Africa than they actually were. But they're really stronger in this area in Madagascar.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Never underestimate what a crippled colonial can still do.
Even if they're not going to win the game, they're still going to make life hell for people.
Yep. There's one more important thing that happens in negotiations here, which is that Inuit goes to myself, Tokugawa, and Athapasca and says, hey, you know, I'm very happy to help you guys win this game as a 3-way. I have visited every continent in the world at this point, except for Australia. I would like to get a unit there. And so, like, well, how is that possible? They wanted to... Sorry,
Southern Sea.
Yes, but Portugal is obviously not going to be on board with this. And in fact, I think Antarctic Basin is empty, so it wouldn't be possible anyway.
Full phase.
But they want to send a unit, Moristad, I think. Yeah, it is Moristad. Up here around the Arctic Ocean, and then down through North Pacific and South Pacific. And initially they were wanting it to land in Gunai, but I think we talked them into going into Aotearoa instead, however you pronounce it.
Sure, they take New Zealand, fine.
Yes.
Okay.
And I was looking at that, I'm like, well, that means this unit and this unit are holding, and this unit is trapped behind it, right?
Yeah.
So, even if Athapasca realise that, well, which they will, once Portugal start throwing to me, that they need to go hard on gaining as much as they can, as soon as they can, they won't be in position to do it.
Yeah, they'll be able to get like 3 centers, maybe, probably more than 3. So 1, 2... 2 centers.
Yeah, 2 centers.
Yeah, okay. Sweet. Easy, done.
So I was very happy to say, yeah, I will help you with that. And in fact, they only
it costs you 1 fleet.
They only requested this fleet in SPO. Because
sweet, because they're going to convoy themselves in South Atlantic? Perfect, yeah. Dude, I'll toss 1 fleet out of the way to make Athapasca lose 4.
Yeah, it seemed incredible to me, right? I was like, well, everything's kind of lining up on this phase. And Athapasca agreed to it, Tokugawa agreed to it.
Is there a fleet in Arctic Ocean even?
In Arctic Ocean, which one?
No, that's north.
Oh,
that's
sorry,
north.
this one, yes.
Yes, okay, great. Yeah, sorry, the fleet cut out the screen. Couldn't see it.
Okay.
Okay, great. Yeah, sweet, perfect. That makes things very clean. Wait, do you just win the game this year?
It really does, and if we go through to the moves, we'll see why it becomes a bit less clean, which is that Athapasca just don't do it. They agree to, and then they make a solo run. And this would have been a massive problem for me, I think.
If you weren't already getting thrown to.
If I wasn't getting thrown to it in the south. So you can see these are all choreographed moves down here. everything I'm doing is just moving into centers behind Portugal. Portugal is just moving out of everywhere. And I'm getting in position to hit Morristadt. Was it Kikoya that was going? Oh, we even got Poland in on the convoy. Okay.
Yeah, and it was actually, because it wasn't our the Morristadt unit. It was the army in Kuik, whatever.
Yeah, Kikoya.
Yeah. But this means that Inuit might be willing to fight Athapasca for us.
Yes, not that
Because
they could
we
do...
held our deal.
Not that they can do very much. Athapasca is all over them, and they have, 2 units in position to fight?
Maybe 3.
Yeah, I guess this gets
Massachusetts Bay, and if they work with England, there is stuff. They are still relevant. They're weak, obviously, but not super dead.
Yes,
and you bounce Illinois. You pop Erie. I think Erie can retreat to Seneca.
Yes, that is correct. But I do push forward a little bit, and you'll see Tokugawa actually had the convoy in, and I had the convoy in. And Poland and Inuit both had the convoy in. It was just Athapasca breaking it here. And of course, right after the phase, Inuit do come to me and say, what can I do to help? Because...
yes.
Yeah, they are good. They are obviously feeling very betrayed by this, which I would too in their position, and this is the only way they can get back at Athapasca.
Want to help convoy you to Greenland?
I don't remember if we actually agree to do anything solid. I think they just agree not to contest things like Morristadt, which I would have taken anyway. But while we were discussing, we also come to the conclusion, okay, so Inuit's big wish in this game was to get to Australia area.
Yeah, they still want to get to Australia. And with Portuguese help, it's easy.
Yeah, with Portuguese help, it's really straightforward, right? You just go through Southern Sea and Antarctic Basin. I'm trying to think if there's anything else important that's happening this phase. I guess there is, in that I'm getting into position to take more Portuguese dots here, right? And over here, I'm just going for it. So I run back in against Poland and go... and this is as Poland are walking out. It's not an effective stab in the slightest. I think I'm guaranteed to get, 1 or 2 here?
That's an effective stab. It's like it's a guaranteed position, and you're going for the solo. So even if Poland tries to stop you, you have position now.
Yep.
So that's solid.
Exactly. And so I just get into position to do this kind of thing. I think Ottomans are also really annoyed with Poland, so are pulling their units back. And you can see I managed to take a GNC at the same time. I'm now closing around here.
Oh, because Levantine Sea doesn't support anymore.
Yep.
Oh my god, you're in the Aegean. Hell yes. Dude, what a sick Mediterranean.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Abyssinia do try and stab me here, but I have the defense, and Portugal are just like being very overt about the fact that they're helping me here. They bring
once they do their moves in South America, like everything is it's pretty clear. Commit to the bit.
Yep. And of course, after this phase, Athapasca is immediately trying to get people back on board with the Grand Coalition against me. A lot of people join it,
tough to do that.
They don't have Portugal anymore, which is the kicker, because Portugal was the person doing the most, who was still fighting me, right? Removing Portugal from that area just removes a huge amount of the resistance.
Yeah, and I mean, a lot more than removing Portugal from the area. Like, Portugal's actively supporting you in a ton of these locations. It's brutal.
So I take every Portuguese center in South America, and I think this is the only center in South America that I don't get.
Sure.
Taluchi, I get into Cayenne. You can see England lets me into Bahamas, Jamaica, Cape Haitian, Barbados, New Courland, Bermuda. Yeah, I get Azores, of course, here. I can't remember what this was convoying. I don't know. I get
maybe like Galicia to Nantes or something, but you get Paris. Do you get Paris?
I think I get Paris because they miscommunicate between the two of them here. So Poland tries to support Ghent into Paris, but they go from whatever this one is, Liège.
Sure, and then Ghent doesn't support that also or something? Weird, I don't know. Whatever. You get into Paris, that's sweet.
I think I just Oh yeah, I get Innsbruck as well because I'm guaranteed it. 3 on there.
Yeah.
I get into Constantinople. Do I get into Constantinople?
Doesn't look like it. Looks
Yes,
like you...
I do.
Oh, because it gets cut! Hell yes.
This
And then...
wasn't discussed
Yeah.
with Safavids? I don't remember.
Perfect.
I think they just decided to do this anyway because they saw the end of the game approaching, right? And just went YOLO.
Yeah.
So yeah, I get into Constantinople. Sadly, I do not get Cairo, but everything else here is set. And I'm in Timor down here. And we do get the Inuit unit from Moristad through Southern Sea and Antarctic Basin down to New Zealand.
Yes. And you're in Gunai as well.
Yeah. So for those of you who are commenting on previous videos saying why is New Zealand so underutilized in this variant, I mean, it is a pointless province, right? No one in their right mind ever goes here because it's effectively just an SBO province that only borders Antarctic Basin and has no supply center on it. So
You could put an army there.
yeah, but if someone wants to travel the world and not cause any harm, then that is certainly a place they can go to, and in this game, it's going to end on the note of Inuit taking that province.
You say end because it sounds like you solo.
Yep. I I did not keep that very well hidden, but I think at this point it was becoming a little more obvious. You can see even England helps Inuit bounce Athapasca out of Port Royal. And I think I help Inuit get New Amsterdam as well, or they help me into New Amsterdam. They help me.
They help you into New Amsterdam.
Yeah.
Sweet.
So if we go through to the next phase, I have 90 supply centers.
How many did you gain?
So on the previous turn, I had 63.
17.
So I went plus
you gained
27. Yeah. Which, I think that is the most supply centers I have ever gained in a single turn of diplomacy. And...
yeah.
Like, it's only possible because a lot of people were working to try and give me those supply centers. At the same time, I think I'm quite proud of the way this game ends up going, because I think this is only possible because I fought to be in that position in the first place, and because of the way that I kind of diplomatically handled the fallout from the previous attempt on solo. Yeah.
Yeah. Plus 27.
Yep. A lot of them come from here, but then also and here, right? But then also I was still making progress.
And then a couple of extra dots everywhere. Another good move against Poland to get a couple extra dots.
I forgot. I like slip into Cormontin just because they're not expecting me to go to Gold Coast on the previous phase, so they leave it unguarded.
So you just get it, and then you also get the South African center.
Cape Co. Yeah. Yeah.
Jeez.
So there you go. I mean, you knew in advance that I'd won this game, right?
I did know that.
I think...
But holy...
most people on the Imperial Diplomacy server were aware of the way this game ended. And it spawned a bit of discussion about should it even be considered like a valid victory. Well, I think most people were generally of the opinion that it was a valid victory, but it spawned a lot of conversation about should we allow throws in this game. I'm like, well, if you're discussing that, yeah, you like look at the situation, and I'm hoping that I've done a decent job of explaining why Portugal would have wanted to do that. But if you just look at the position Portugal had, right, there was nothing else that they had in their arsenal left. Everyone betrayed them. And it feels kind of reasonable, the steps that they took in the end. At least from my perspective. I
think diplomacy, if you want someone to not throw, you have to convince them to not throw.
Mm-hmm.
It's a relatively easy thing to convince someone of, because if they throw, they cannot win anymore. And so you need to give them something. But if you piss people off and you try to exploit them and you push the line a little bit too far, I know, I've done this a lot, people will throw against you.
Yeah.
But you can't ban throwing in diplomacy. You can't ban actions. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I think this is the most valid victory possible. This is the core of what it means to win in a game of diplomacy.
Yeah. It's also, I don't really blame the other players for getting to a position where Portugal was thinking that they would throw, right? Because if you look at what individual players were doing, all of them were pushing the line a bit, but not to the point that I think they would think it would make Portugal do this. But combined, all of them doing it just puts Portugal in an impossible situation.
And they didn't do as good a job diplomatically, right?
Yep.
You managed to keep Portugal happy with you despite being at war with them for years, right? Like, that's a difficult task to do, and most people suck at it. And so, most of the time, they're not going to throw to the person they've been at war with. They'll throw to their ally, if they're choosing someone to throw to. But you managed to navigate the war in such a fashion that made them like you, and made them say, you know what, I think you deserve this win, and nobody else does. So, fuck them.
Yeah. I don't really know what more I have to say on that. I do think it was reasonable for people to start discussing it just because they saw this number and they were like, come on. Like, this is ridiculous.
Saw plus 27.
Yeah.
And like, again, if two colonial powers go into this game with the intent of, like, if they're metagaming and they say one of the two of us is going to win this game and nobody else is, it's a problem. Because the colonials have such power and such influence over the game that you can see this position where one of these colonials is so weak, quote unquote, in this late game situation, and yet they can still completely unbalance it and throw to one of them. Like, that is a concern, but I mean, I don't know. I don't think Flare did anything about it. I don't think there's been any changes in rules.
Yeah.
It's like,
it was definitely just a discussion. It wasn't anything that came about to change. I've seen that discussion happen a lot in the past in diplomacy because obviously this kind of thing, I think people, especially newcomers to diplomacy, don't realize quite how much king-making can be involved when you remove someone's ability to win the game, right? So in a normal diplomacy setting, if you're going to... The like, very classic example of this is on the standard diplomacy board, when you've stalemated the leading power backs off a bit, under draw size scoring or something, and says, alright, you eliminate this one smaller power, and then we'll draw. And then the powers go in and try and do that, and then the leading power walks back to the line, and the power who was nearly taken out, the tiny power, goes, screw it, you guys are going to eliminate me if this game goes on. I'm going to end the game here by supporting the leading power into one more dot and getting them over the line. And then people get up in arms and go, how dare they do this, right? This is throwing the game. This is against the spirit of of gameplay, but that is a weapon that powers have in order to stop you doing exactly that. So game throwing is just, or even just king making from a position where you can't win, is kind of an integral part of a negotiation game. And this kind of thing happens, and it's something that you have to avoid with your tactics and with your diplomatic intent. You need to be aware that it can happen and work to stop it when it is going to.
Yeah, I think from a philosophical perspective, this is a game about managing other people more than a game about playing the board. Fundamentally. And other people will get pissed. And I don't think the solution is to take away agency from players. It's the ultimate nuke. It's the flip the table option. It's the I am so pissed at you, I would rather lose than see... Like, I would rather get eliminated completely than see you get anything out of this game. Eat a pile of dicks. And as a player, it's your job to not get them into that point. Just as it's your job to get Italy to attack Russia in the early game. It's similarly your job to stop them from throwing at the late game.
Yep. I completely agree. Like, I don't really know where more to go from here. I think it was a pretty... I think this specific ending of me winning the game only happens if someone agrees to throw, because I failed that initial solo run, right? There's no way I solo win again with Athapasca being this strong, and I think Athapasca chose the right moment to try and go for a solo as well. They could have gotten quite a lot out of this, and the fact that so many Inuit units were just involved in trying to convoy this across, I think I respect that they tried to do it at the right time.
Yeah, but like even with their solo effort, right, they got to 36, right, which is not even, that's what, like 120, 116%?
I think
right.
I have the percentages on the next slide, actually. So 114, they were a little too low.
Right, so like even if you hadn't done anything, it wouldn't have gotten there. But you just blew that solo percentage out the water.
Yeah, 154, well over 25% above. If I hadn't had to throw this round, I think I would have had to try and talk Athapasca into accepting the three-way victory here, and I don't think they would have immediately done so. I think we would have had to try and fight and contain them.
And it would have been really tough, right? If Portugal keeps fighting you, first, like, there's a bunch of dots that you don't go for if Portugal isn't offering to throw you. I don't think you'd get that many centers out of England if Portugal isn't throwing to you. Yeah. You're not going to go for, like, that weird center in Mali. You're not going to get South Africa. And obviously you're going to get, like, 3 fewer centers more, probably, in South America, right? Yeah. You're not going to get that much. You're not going to re-stab Poland in the spring. So you probably don't gain much at all. And so, yeah.
Yep.
What's the big deal?
So, in that scenario, I think generally the game turns into a game of contain Athapasca and then end the game with whoever gets to 100. Which is either going to be these 3 or these 4, most likely. I think Poland was always a bit too much of a stretch to get there because their win con is so much higher. And they need to basically murder Mali in order to do that.
I mean,
but
a couple centers from this phase, right? So
yeah,
you have a chance. And if you coordinate with them, like if you started being serious about getting people into the draw, it becomes the draw, the win, shared victory. It becomes a lot more achievable. So.
Yep.
Yeah, this is like a fantastic solo victory. It's very impressive. Plus 27 is the most I've ever seen in a turn. Obvious, like I mean, in a standard diplomacy map, right? Plus 27 is the entire map, basically.
Yeah, 7 fewer,
right?
Than the entire map.
Yeah,
so close.
It's like I will gain every single center. You need to have that many units, right? You need to have 27 units on the board already, and then they all need to go into new centers. That's absurd. You had 60 units, and like half of them moved into new centers and gained them in one turn.
And I would have only been able to build like 10 of them.
Yeah, I mean, oh no, first world problems. I can only build in.
Yeah.
God. Yeah, that's a sick turn.
Yes, it is certainly the most impressive turn I've ever had in this game. I think I can say that like without any doubt, and I'm really proud of the result. This is like it's hard to say just how hard a solo victory is to get in Imperial Diplomacy. We saw exactly why that was on the turn that I went for it before, even though I had like a massive amount of growth potential. Just the fact that other people could balance that out by getting other people up to the line and up to the 25 point, right? Makes it so difficult if your opponents are ready to react to you in a way that will stop that from happening. So, yeah, I'm really, really happy with this result. And as it turned out, myself and Ezio both won as Spain. Across every Imperial Diplomacy game, we were the only 2 Spain winners. So maybe...
Yeah.
So I think we talked quite a lot about how Spain is, like, overpowered because of the Mediterranean stuff and whatnot. I think maybe examine some of the other games as well, just to get an impression of what happens when it's not me or Ezio playing on the power. Because we're right? They are overpowered in the Mediterranean region, but I think just watching these videos, you get a bit of a an unbalanced view of what Spain can be, because in both games we had very powerful players playing as Spain, right?
Yeah, I think that. I mean, I maintain that Spain is incredibly powerful.
Mm-hmm.
I think the main thing I think is that I underestimated how strong England is in this variant, and both of our games had England's that got weakened early. In your game, England just got annihilated by that France-Netherlands coalition
Yes.
at the very start of the game, and gave you, therefore, hegemony in the Caribbean. And in my game, just due to colonial infighting, I was able to also get France to stab England early, and then capitalize on that. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so I think that's a big part of why our games went well. Um, but like, I don't know. I both of us play similarly, and I think that both of us looked at Spain and had a similar idea of its strengths and weaknesses. Because I think a lot of people looked at Spain in Central and South America and thought it was a powerhouse in the region, when I don't think it starts out as a powerhouse. I think it starts out as quite weak, and both of us recognized that it was weak, and we negotiated from that. Hey, we are not strong here. Aymara, Shoshone, please work with us. Please help us. Like, let's be friends. Let's be as peaceful as possible and whatever. And then you went and then we both went and found opportunities to get small incremental edges over our neighbors. We were able to reinforce it with games in the Mediterranean, and then we turned it into what it became in both of our games, where we conquered South America. But we didn't start out that way. I think a lot of Spains don't negotiate like that, and they get the regionals to attack them. And if you are Spain and getting attacked by the regionals in South America, you will lose badly.
Mm-hmm.
Badly bad. And if England is strong, and England is there to fight in the Caribbean, and we don't have it, and we are like defending in Gulf of Mexico and Bay of Panama, and we're fighting in this war, Spain is going to lose like a lot.
Yeah.
Versus, hey, we're totally free. We have, like, I looked at it, we have like 20 centers in the Caribbean and the coast around the Caribbean, free to fight everywhere else on the map. It's so nice. And that was our edge that we got this game. So, we got lucky. I think you played an incredible game.
Yes, I think it was very good gameplay from both of us. It's also interesting to see just how different the gameplay was from both of us, right? For me, most of the time, I was working with powers who were a long way away from being able to win, in the hope that in the end game they could help me win. And for the most part, they didn't, right? Netherlands turned on me, Portugal turned on me when I tried to get to there. But it still ended up working out okay because I'd managed to get so far ahead of other people by doing that. In your game, you managed to work collaboratively with other people who could achieve the win, and just use that to absolutely dominate, right? And
we said, hey, we can actually win this game together. Let's actually just win this game.
Yep.
And then nobody could stand against us, and then we just won.
Yeah.
But it meant that I didn't have any turn, that I went plus 27. Right? I had to accept middling results of like plus 12 or something, which was, I think, my best on turn 1. I don't think I ever had a turn that I grew as much as I grew on turn 1.
Yeah, I think that's going to be true for most colonials in Imperial Diplomacy, just because turn 1 has so many open centers that no one's going to contest you on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that almost all of this game I was going plus 4 or plus 3, right? And then there were some times where I went plus 0 and minus 1 or something. But certainly capped it off with a pretty decent result here. And
yeah, that was a cool thing. I don't think I ever went neutral.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I went neutral, but I don't think I ever had a turn when I went minus, which was, I think, cool and exciting and a sign of a good game. And you had, I think, only the one turn right after you went for your solo, and then ceded a bunch of stuff to Poland, right?
Oh, I think I even went plus 1 on that turn, because I'd had a bunch of units blown up in various places. So
yeah, the blow up. I meant like net, my centers increase turn over turn, not necessarily builds.
Yeah,
but yeah.
I think it was just the one turn that I went net negative on that, which it goes to show, like, and momentum is another important thing in this game. Just keep going upwards and people don't see you as weak, and so they're not really able to take advantage of you. I think it's especially true of Spain. You need to be constantly growing, because if there's a turn where you don't have builds and Portugal does, if you haven't hung around here with units, then Portugal is quite possibly just going to build and come in here, right?
Yeah, man.
I couldn't think who that would have happened to before.
Yeah. You know, I take it back. There was a turn. I grew only 11 on my first turn. There was a turn very late in the game where I was blitzing for like the victory, where I took all the centers from Netherlands, that I had been saving.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I went plus 12 like a couple years out. Anyways, yeah. It is neat to see how different our games played out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, I mean, I guess that's a pretty good note to leave it on, unless you have anything else you want to talk about with regards to this?
No, just well played, man. But this was, again, a really, really impressive game.
Well, yeah. Thank you very much. I also want to congratulate Inuit on making it to New Zealand, of course. Being the first person in the history of this game to ever use that territory. Actually, I'm sure someone else has memed there before, but that's
yeah,
certainly the first time I've seen anyone there. Well played to all of the other players in this game. It was an absolutely fantastic one, an incredibly high-level game. Congratulations as well to Salt, who did actually manage to survive the game, just about.
That's to survive.
Yep. And thank you for working with me on the turn that I tried to go for the solo as well. If you're at all interested in Imperial Diplomacy, please do join the Discord server. It's in the link in the description below. It's a fantastic variant. I love this so much, and I'm really glad to play it every time that I do get to play it. I think I can say the same for Ezio, right? You've played enough of this that I assume you like it.
Yeah, I definitely enjoy it. I think it has its place, and I know I enjoy it less than a lot of you guys do. I think my favorite is Helladip. I love this one.
Helladip would be Hellenic Diplomacy. We've done a video on that before as well. You can look for.
Yeah, I'm playing another one, and I'm reminded of how, like, I can talk about it. I love the variant. I'm happy to play it. Don't play Russia, guys. Stay away from Russia.
We're gonna have so much fun commentating our Russia game. I think that's less so don't play Russia and more so don't play with CaptainMeme as your.
Okay, you know what? I can maybe Russia's a playable country. Do not take turns playing with CaptainMeme when CaptainMeme is trying to troll you.
I'm not trolling. I'm doing good stuff. It just doesn't happen to align with what you want to do.
Okay, but also half of the time, every phase CaptainMeme says, you know, this looks like a really shitty position. I'm glad Ezio has to deal with it. I can paste links. I have evidence.
All right, we'll save that for our commentary on that. This has been Imperial Diplomacy 2.5. There will be another one coming out at some point soon, because I have a Blitz recording with King of Prussia. Once I actually manage to get that edited, because it has 2 perspectives, and I've never done that before, so hopefully that will go okay. So, yeah, look out for that. Look out for the Ice Cream Invitational one. Thank you very much for watching, and we will see you next time.